Okay, so for this tutorial, we're going to be talking about deep stack 3-bet and 4-bet pots. Now, for this tutorial, and for the tutorials, I want them to be very interactive. So, if anyone wants to try and answer some of the questions I want to ask, just go ahead. All right, so for learning outcomes for this tutorial, first we're going to talk about the rationale behind the preflop 3-bets and 4-bets. And then we're going to compare and contrast basically preflop and postflop play between 100 and 200-ish big blind deep strategies. All right, so for this first part, we're going to talk about preflop. So we're going to answer these 3 questions. Does anyone have an answer for any of these questions?
I got you. The first question, well, I don't know if it's the answer, but what I think 3-bet preflop to deny the equity from the other players behind you left to act, to get their hands out the pot, and to make the pot bigger, and like you'll have the stronger range post flop, so that gives you the equity advantage on most boards. So and I guess some other things that I don't know.
Yep. Anyone else want to add to that?
For the size that impacts our range, I think bigger means you go more polarized, smaller means you go more merged.
Okay, but what if you're playing a 3-bet or fold strategy? Then how does the size impact your range?
Oh, then I wouldn't know.
Well, wouldn't it still be linear? Like, wouldn't it still be a smaller? Well, like I guess a little smaller.
Yeah, in a sense. Think about what hands are going to go in that range, that linear range.
Let me try. Like, so if the opener open 2x, so we have to compare the EV of calling. Is EV of calling 2x versus EV of 3-betting 2x, right? So I mean, like some hands like Jack 9 suited, you have like more incentive to call, say like as a small blind or big blind. Whereas if the raise size is so much bigger, then you don't have that much incentive to call anymore, which means it just makes the EV of 3-bet higher the bigger they raise.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
Definitely for the big blind, but not necessarily for the other players because there's someone left behind.
The small blind is what kind of gets me because I noticed that especially in your charts too. Like versus the 2x opens, I think it's just king plus ace king suited, and then like you're flat in like a shit ton of hands from the big blind.
Yeah, against a 2, you should see the versus limp ranges.
What's limp range?
Does it change the bluff to value ratio?
So the sizing, yeah. So that's definitely going to impact the bluff to value ratio.
But in preflop, there's not really like a bluff, kind of. It's kind of hard to say what's a bluff, right?
Yeah, especially if you're playing a depolarized preflop strategy. Then it doesn't make too much sense. But think about, so for the last question, how does our raise size impact our range? Think about if you're playing a depolarized strategy, you're basically just going to be 3-betting hands from the top of our range, and from the top is basically like knight hands plus bluffs that are sort of near the top. And what you measure as the top is how that hand is going to, 1, play post flop, and 2, create folds because of blocker effects. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
if you want to be playing a 3-bet or fold strategy where your raise size is tiny, then because you're going to go post flops so often, you want hands that are going to be playing a little bit better post flop.
Oh, okay.
But if you
Yeah,
use a very
'cause you're
large
gonna get-
size,
Yeah, you're gonna get called a lot, so you better have strong hands unless you want them to. Yeah, you definitely.
yeah, well, it's not necessarily strong hands, it's just hands that play well post flop
Yeah,
against
yeah,
what you expect to call. But if you use a very large size,
All right, yeah. So basically, like if we three bet like 5x, then the hands like ace 10 off increases in value, right? Whereas if you three bet 2.5x IP, then we need more playability. We need more hands like suited connectors.
yeah, this is sort of what you should be thinking about. So it's not necessarily ace 10 off, it's sort of like an ace 6 suited hand, or like an ace queen offsuit hand. Those
Yeah.
kinds of hands block their continuing range, which is quite important when we use a very large size, because we don't want them to continue at all, right? One, because they're just going to be four betting us when they do continue, right? Because we're putting a large size out. They should play closer to four bet or fold rather than calling. And similar to when we're four betting, so we open, we face a three bet, and then we four bet. Why do you think we four bet? So does anyone have the answer to why we four bet?
Well, once again, to stop our opponent from realizing their equity or getting to the flop too cheaply with like hands in their range that can easily outdraw us.
Yeah. You want to make the pot bigger in case you win with your 4-bet like quote unquote value.
And I remember an email with you also. You don't want them to, like, if you're out of position, you don't want them to just check back, like have the you don't want them to see 3 cards on the flop plus a turn for free, because they could just check back the flop. Like if you just flat and then they're in position, you check, because that's what you'll do most of the time, like almost always, and then they'll just check back and then bam, they see 4 cards for free. That's ridiculous.
Oh, never thought about that.
If we never four bet, let's think of it this way. If we never four bet, then the opponent can just three bet us aggressively, and we can't do anything about it, right? Like we're gonna play our position post flop with no range advantage. We check, he bets more, then we're fucked almost many boards. So we have to prevent him from doing that.
Yeah, like 4-bet stops him from 3-betting too much, I think, right?
Yeah, all of this is all of these points are definitely correct, and it's even more correct when you're out of position, because then they can check back the flop and see 4 cards for free when we can only see 3. That's why our 4-bet range when we're out of position is going to be a lot more than if we were in position. In position, we can flatten sight and try and outflop them, versus when we're out of position, we're more likely to raise, get the money in
What's your
earlier, even if it's really thin.
So what's your take on like flatten our entire range in position deep? Like versus a 4-bet. Like, I mean, like if we do it like most of it, like, because I've been doing it the past few, like 3 weeks, I've been in position like around 130 plus BBs deep or so, well, based on the size, and I would flat aces and all that. Like I would flat 60, usually I would defend 60% of my range and just flat it all, well, depending on the size, but it's usually, I usually end up flatting around 60, 63% or some shit like that.
Yeah, we can talk about that as we're talking about as we compare the strategy between 100 and 200 big blinds deep.
Okay.
So we're definitely going to be talking about that soon.
Okay, because when this is deep, you meant, because some people refer to 100 big blinds as deep, but you're talking about like 150, 200 and all that.
Yeah, so the stuff in live when you play online, 100 big blinds deep is like the shortest you're gonna be,
Yeah.
and then like as more chips, as more people get stacked and stuff, it's gonna end up 200-300 big blinds deep. Similarly, in live, you buy in for 100 and then let people play for 10 hours or whatever, and by the end of it, they're playing 1,000 big blinds deep, and it's ridiculous. Okay, does everyone understand why we 3-bet pre-flop? 3-bet pre-flop,
Yeah, I got a pretty
players behind out,
good understanding.
4-betting pre-flop. to deny equity, especially when we're out of position. And if our raise size, if we use a larger raise size, we're going to want to use more blocker type hands. And if we use a smaller raise size, we definitely want to have some ability to play post flop.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just one question. Is there anything to be discussed here about balancing your range, or is just a matter of denying equity and playing post-flop in a manner that's not totally disadvantageous to us when we call a 3-bet?
Sorry, could you repeat that question? I'm not sure what you meant.
I was trying to see if there's a point here in balancing your 4-bet range that accounts for a reason to 4-bet, in addition to not being in a bad position when we get 3-bet and we just call or fold, basically.
Yeah, so say you open from like the low jack and the button 3-bets you, and now we're going to want to 4-bet. Some of the time we're going to want to 4-bet our stronger hands, right? And we need to balance these stronger hands with bluffs, not just because you need pre-flop bluffs, but also because you're going to need post-flop bluffs, right? So you're going to have to use a range, a variety of different hand types in our 4-bet range. So we can't just 4-bet queens plus ace king, right? We have to use a variety of different hands because we're going to be playing post-flop.
That makes sense. I got a question. Do you remember when we were talking? You're talking about like it's okay to I believe you said, I think it was 5-bet shove. I'm not sure. Like if the pre-flop SPR is like 10, you said like preferably 5. Like, do you remember that?
Yep.
Okay, now like that's under 400 and 200 bigs. So like I never thought that. Like I was surprised when you said that, because I always thought like when you said 10, I'm like, even though that you said that's kind of high, but even like 6 or 7 SPR, I'm like, I always thought that was a little bit too high to just shove it in.
Well, it's not like you're shoving an entire range. It's just that you're shoving parts of your range that end up working together. And like 100 blinds deep, and we can talk about this on the next slide, but 100 blinds deep, often when the SPI ends up getting sort of less than 10 and shorter than that, we can start shoving a combination of like a big offsuit ace and a pocket pair. And you'll see this stuff very commonly in tournaments when you're playing shallow, like 40 big blinds deep, 20 big blinds deep, stuff like that. You guys know that 20 big blinds deep, if you're playing like heads up 20 big blinds deep, you can just shove pocket twos and like no bluffs. Well, very rarely any bluffs, and that's plus EV. And then like as you get shallower than that, you're shoving a combination of pocket pairs and then like weak ace X suit. And you see that kind of pattern happening 100 big blind deep pre-flop in sort of 6 max, where we end up shoving kings and ace king offsuit.
Okay, that's what. See, man, you're the man. I was just about to get to that, and I was like, you're probably gonna hit it right on the head. So yeah, that's what I was curious about. Because I noticed we flat, yeah, kings, ace, king. No, kings and ace, king off is what we get it in 5-bets in position versus the 4-bet 100 deep. And I was wondering, I guess, like you were saying, that reflects a little bit out of position too. Like as far as because like you said, we have to have some big hands in our range as well.
Yeah, out of position,
Flat and strong.
it's not quite as important to flat aces because of the whole they can check back.
Okay,
flop
yeah, that
thing.
makes okay, cool.
Right, at least when we're in position, we prevent them checking back the flop. If they ever check to us when we've flatted our aces pre-flop,
Cool.
then we can
Yeah,
always bet.
yeah, I stacked someone. I was playing 200, and I stacked someone flat and aces in position, and they messaged in the chat like they said they was talking a whole bunch of mess.
Yeah, 200 big blind deep, it's a little bit less common to flat aces, but you can do it a small frequency of the time, especially if you know that they're just going to like barrel off with kings or whatever. So anyway, so we're going to get to that. So talking about stack depth and pre-flop play. So if we're comparing 100 big blinds to 200 big blinds, how do the facing and RFI range differ? how do the versus 3-bet range differ, and how do the versus 4-bet range differ? Does anyone have answers to these questions?
I don't think they change. I don't think they change slightly, in my opinion. Wait, how do raise versus ranges differ? I'd say the button we definitely want to be raising more because our absolute position is while we have the best position period. So I would probably open like 50 or 60% as a default, like towards 200 big blinds. But everywhere else, maybe just a little more if there's not aggressive 3-betters behind us. But I don't think I would really open much versus the range. I guess 3-bet a little more in position, out of position. I don't know. I keep it usually the same as far as 3-bets. As far as I don't really change it too much. Deep out of position.
The way that I play is when I get deep, I will try to generally be tighter in early position, and the reason for that is fairly simple. If we get 3-bet because we are deep, we're more inclined to call, and then we end up playing really big pots out of position. That's not a good spot to be. The other side of this coin is when we're deep, we get to 3-bet more, and we get to even call 4-bet slightly lighter if we're deep enough. So basically, opening from the cutoff and the bottom becomes a really good proposition because I really don't care if I get 3-bet by the small blind or the big blind. I'll just flat in position, and they're going to be in trouble eventually. But this is the main aspect here is the deeper you get, I think you should be slightly more careful when you're opening EP/MP. Just because if you get 3-bet, you're going to be playing big pots out of position, and that's not a good idea in general.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So versus, excuse me, I was talking about opening for like a little bit too long, but versus, I don't really. I mean, how do I change? I mean, I guess I would. Yeah, like everyone said, just try 3-bet more because you have deeper. Like, I guess 200 big blinds deep. I'm guessing like a 6 or 7-ish plus SPR 3-bet pods. I'm guessing somewhere around there. So I guess you could raise a tad more. Like if I would raise 7% from hijack versus low jack as a default, I guess I'd probably only raise like 8% of hands. Or like, I mean, I don't think I would raise too much more.
So can I add something? When we are in position, and as we get deeper, we are going to 3-bet wider. So we are going to have more bluffs. So the bluff to value ratio goes higher as the stacks get deeper. But when we are out of position, it stays the same. So this is what I did on a snowy. So in position, when the stacks get deeper in position, we are going to add some suited connector hands, some baby aces suited hands in position to put the maximum pressure. So I see that it is kind of drastic that the 3-bet value numbers go higher in position, but out of position, it doesn't change. So I did it for 300 BB, 200 BB.
Shit, I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that because I couldn't think of ways to change out of position. I mean, yeah, I couldn't really think. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't think of too much to do differently. I mean, shallow stacks, you got to go crazy with like 10 or 20 BBs, but with like 1 to 200, I just out of position. I kind of keep it the same.
Yeah,
I think
you guys.
Sorry.
I think you guys have mostly covered it. So the missing question here is how do the opening ranges differ comparing 100 to 200 big blinds deep? And it might seem counterintuitive, but because when we open, we're most likely to play against the blinds, all of the in-position opening ranges go a little bit wider when we're playing deeper. And conversely, if you're playing shallower in like a tournament or whatever without antes, then you're going to be playing narrower.
So, okay, so run that back. So you said will actually be, are we referring to 6 max or 9 ring or?
It doesn't matter too much.
So you said we're more likely to be playing in position versus the blinds the deeper we are?
whenever you open from the field, the most likely player that you're going to be playing against is the big blind.
The big blind. Okay, yeah, the big blind. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So
okay,
you're most likely going to be playing in position against one of the blinds. Right.
okay.
Usually just the big blind because
Because
most small
live,
blinds, as they're getting better at poker,
Live,
they start to play live at that.
live players don't follow your rules, Thomas. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. And
There is a rule that a pro taught me, and it goes something like this: the deeper you are, the more value position has, and in reverse, the shallower you are, the less your position matters. So basically, I think that pretty much wraps it up. It kind of puts
How much? Like, sorry for cutting you off a little, but how much more would you open up? Because, like, I tend to open up, like, as a default, like, 50% more hands than I do from, like, the GTO-ish ranges. Like, as a default, like, I'd open 20 from the low jack instead of 15. I'd open 35 from the cutoff instead of the 27, 28. Like, until I get 3-bet, like, several times. Like, and I do that 100 or 200 big blinds deep. So, like, I start off opening the button 70%, just, like, until I get played back at a lot. Do you think I should really like stick with that? Or, I mean, my sample size isn't too bad and it seems to be working out well, but is that like bad theoretically or?
I mean, it's probably an okay exploit, especially because if you're playing live.
Well, I do that online.
Players,
well, online too.
Yeah,
Up to like
most humans can't play out of position, right? Which is really hard for humans to do because it's like you end up having to do stuff that isn't very intuitive, like checking a strong hand to protect your checking range, which isn't like an intuitive thing to do. I have a strong hand, I want to bet it, right? But
I like checking out a position. I ain't go even as
yeah, as you become a stronger player, you have to learn how to play out of position, right? But it's not a very intuitive thing for humans to do. Playing in position is a lot more straightforward because if you have a strong hand, you just bet, right? But out of position, you want to check and you want to check raise, you want to check call, and all that stuff.
What's your take on because I've heard it a couple of times that the looser play from the weaker opponents actually lowers the EV of a lot of our hands. Like, am I saying that right? Like their mistakes are in a way lowering the EVR of our hand because they're playing too loose. Like,
yeah,
I don't know
that's one of the things that can happen, and I think if you look at Poker Snowy, it's sort of got that built into it.
Okay.
Especially in like the weird flats that you get from the small blind. Where like it's playing in a way to like not
for weaker players.
Not do well. Yeah, it plays in a way that does well against weaker players, not necessarily very strong players.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Can
But when
I
you're
add
playing
something
as
here?
yeah, sure.
Because I've heard this and discussed this idea before, and the idea is when you're playing against a table of regs, I get to steal blinds effectively, and that adds to plus EV for my opens. When you have a weaker player in the small blind or the big blind, they'll just come with you with any two cards, and basically the equity difference between your stealing blinds range and their whatever calling range is not that big. And they don't like to fold. So basically you get to showdowns a lot more often, and that means you're going to have to make a hand at some point, which is obviously hard. So I think that's the reason why your EV goes down against particularly players that fold too much.
Yeah, that makes sense. But we could still open roughly the same since we're only being 3-bet like a combined, say, like 18% of the time. Like say we open the button to 2.5x. Say they should 3-bet like 25+% or 30% of the time. And like if they only 3-bet like under 20, is it still okay to open 70 even though they're calling with like 5-6 off or like 6-8 off, shit like that?
Personally, as I exploit, I try to steal less blinds when the fish is in the blinds. Generally, I'll change a little bit my range in the sense that if I was stealing with, I don't know, let's say king deuce suited, I would try
more raw equity hands against the fish.
Yeah, I would switch that to like ace deuce off. So I'd rather open ace deuce off than king two suited. Because
Yeah,
when I'm gonna
that
make
makes
top
sense.
pair with king, I might be in very deep trouble against some bullshit like king 7, which they totally have. Whereas if I'm gonna hit an ace and I'm gonna check, they will try to maybe bluff. It goes to a more natural flow, but that's just my experience, I guess. It's something that I've observed. So I will try to steal less blinds from the fish with marginal or below marginal hands anyway.
I don't know. Usually, if you're playing against fish, you can just annihilate them post flop, so you can open wider because of that.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I hate trying to use the word fish myself too lightly because like I'm not that great, but like so I definitely I don't know. I feel like throwing around Thomas, you know what you do. I feel like a lot of people, myself included, throwing around that fish too much because I'm efficient in spots too, so
Okay, so if you're playing against a much weaker player in the blinds, then you can open wide because you're in position and you can do a lot better than they can post flop. And if you're very deep, then why not just do that and be loving that because you're playing in position very deep.
yeah, cool. That sounds like I said, I open 70% on the button as a default, like up to like 400 now. I don't open that high, but like 200 now, 100 now, lower or live, I open like 70% on the button as a default.
If you can get away with it, then good for you. But you should normally get 3-bet like hell. I would certainly 3-bet to a lot.
When I play 400 now or like a 1500 or 2K deep 510, then that's when I get 3-bet a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to that, your opening range, it isn't really determined by how many players are going to call. It's most importantly determined by how many players are going to 3-bet you. So like if you're under the gun and you're playing like a live game and no one's going to 3-bet you, then you can open really wide, a lot wider than you should be able to because you're just going to be able to see a flop. You're going to be able to realize that.
Would you say
that 3 out of 5 cards because you just see a flop instead of them raising and then you have to fold.
Okay, so would you say from like under the gun from like a full ring, like it's usually 10%. So would you say like 15, or is there like a certain feel for it, or because it's usually like 10% of hands from like under the gun and full ring. So like, how would you make it 15%?
Yeah, you can probably go that wide. I'm not sure what my ranges that I have up now. I can remember that
because I got 50%.
If you add in all the pink hands, it ends up being 14.8% or something like that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because
so
I had about.
You can probably go that wide.
Okay, cool. Because
anyway, so to answer this question, when we're deeper and we're in the field, right? So we're not in the blinds, we can play a little bit wider because we're most likely to be playing in position against the big blind, and so we can open wider because of that. The big blind's going to fold a little bit more because we're deep, right? And so then that means that how do the versus RFI ranges differ? It's pretty much going to be pretty similar, right? If you're in position, it's going to be wider because you're deep, and it's also going to be wider because the RFI is wider as well. So our button 3-bet ranges go from like 8% to like 10%. It's not a massive difference, but it is quite a bit when you think about it. It's a difference between whether you only sometimes 3-bet pocket twos versus always 3-bet pocket twos, that kind of stuff. All right, how do the versus 3-bet ranges differ? Well, what do you guys think? If you're opening and you versus 3-bet, if you're very deep versus if you're 200 big blinds deep versus 100 big blinds deep. Does anyone have an answer to this question?
I think we call less out of position, especially, and we call less with like trouble hands. For example, like hands like probably like 5-7 suited lose their value a lot because now, for example, in a 100 big blind game, having a flush with 5-7 suited means a lot more than in a 200 big blind game. So lower suited cards and lower connectors are generally going to lose their value, while hands like ace-6 suited get a lot more valuable because they can make the nuts. I think.
I think that's the other way.
Okay.
No, you,
So I
you
just
have
said
to differentiate between straights and flushes here. Okay, like yeah, definitely if you're flushes, you won't have the suited aces, the suited kings. If you're wanting straights, then you're gonna have to have these gap hands. So Nariman, you wanna talk a bit about what you think?
Yes. So when it is deeper and we face a 3-bet, as we get deeper, the threat of being dominated is magnified. So we should avoid calling with hands that are dominated when we are 200 big blind rather than like say 50 big blind, because in 50 big blind when we make a top pair we can go with it, but the power of implied odd implied hands like pocket pairs or that 5-7 suited or suited connectors, as it gets deeper goes higher. I understand that they may give you weaker flushes, but because the stack to pot ratio is higher, we could have more implied odds. So I would say when we face a 3-bet, we can defend definitely from like 5-4 suited to 8-7 suited almost always with those type of hands uh, when we're out of position. What I think that Augustine, I feel that I understand, but I feel that you are a tiny bit worried to play out of position in a massive pot, in like a 3-bet pot when you're deep. Yes, it could be sometimes lead to disaster and you lose a lot, but if we know how to defend deep, people make a large mistakes, and it is very profitable to defend in deep stacks versus 3-bets for sure. If we are closing the action and we are the last one to close the action and see the flop for sure. That's my idea.
That's an interesting idea. The main that I don't like to play too much pots out of position in 3-bet pots is that the general idea of defending against the 3-bet with a call will lead you to a break-even-ish game. So basically, when you're calling a 3-bet, you're going to be at a positional disadvantage, and you're going to have a range disadvantage. You won't have initiative in the pot either. And what that leads to is when you're playing very well against a good opponent, what you're trying to do is basically break even and deny him the opportunity to 3-bet bluff you too much. So basically, you're playing a break-even game. You're not going to make money when you call a 3-bet, right? So because of that particular reason, I'm more inclined to favor a strategy that calls a lot less out of position and 4-bets more as a bluff and as value, of course, and have more calls in position against the 3-bet, because you're going to get to realize your EV a lot easier, and you're not going to be trying to be break even in that spot when you're in position and playing bigger pots. You're going to have an advantage anyway. So, and that's my reasoning anyway.
I know it is the toughest spot to be is to be as a defender, either in a 3-bet or 4-bet pot, and being out of position. I understand that is the toughest spot a player could be in position, all disadvantage, range disadvantage. Most
That's
of
where
the
you
time,
gotta get your edge from there.
but I believe that I was in favor of 4-bet or folding when the stacks are shorter, but as it gets deeper, we gotta defend and play some post flops. And I understand that it might be zero EV in long term, but sometimes I win a lot when bluff catching 2 or 3 streets with my pocket pair and the guy is barreling. It is a scary spot, very
You gotta
spot,
do what you gotta do. Because I mean,
but
you gotta think
you gotta defend.
like that's a tough spot. So if you're good in that spot and you know it's a tough spot, best believe most other people are gonna be struggling in that spot. So that's definitely a massive edge to get on people. I think is like uh like you just said. I mean it's so I mean you do get to an equity disadvantage. Like it's usually like uh like 55-45 or like sometimes 60-40 in favor of the three better when you go post flop. But all that means is you just fold more hands on the flop to mitigate your equity disadvantage. So that means like if they have a 60% equity edge on you post flop, which a lot of three bet ranges do on like king high boards, ace high boards, well, it depends if you have like ace queen or not, but like let's just say you don't flat ace queen out of position. Like let's say the low jack where you usually don't flat ace queen out of position to three bet. Yeah, when you get to ace high boards, you're just gonna have to just fold a lot more on the flop, and then turns and rivers, as long as they don't favor your opponent too much, you're just gonna have to call down, like you said. I mean, you're just gonna have to with those second pairs, sometimes mid pairs with good blockers. Just gotta call down.
Like an example hand is ace queen suited. I would say we waste a hand like ace queen suited if we open early and get three bet and we're out of position. We should not be four betting ace queen suited. What if we get five bet? We lose a lot of equity and say goodbye to the hand. But ace queen suited is one good defending hand. Other thing could be jack, 10. These are the type of hands that you cannot play fold or four bet.
Hey,
Yeah, I think this is exactly right what Nariman is saying, and especially as you get deeper, because then your opponent is just going to flat your four bet, and then you're playing out of position in a four bet pot. And you might have the initiative in that you might have aces in your range, but you still have like tens in a four bet pot out of position. Right. So flattening a three bet with it is better. You're risking a bit less, and you have more stack depth to stack someone if you flop a set, right? That's basically it. Also, if the problem with trying to play four bet or fold against a three bet is when they start using small three bet sizes, right? Because you just don't have enough value to like prevent them from bluffing you profitably.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that four bet or fold shit,
like they can do weird shit like going really small and polar, and then you just get wrecked, right?
Yeah,
so
that's horrible.
The way to play it is a mix between calling and folding. There is the case where you're really short and the four bet would be all in, right? If you're short enough and all these all ins can create a defending range, then yeah, you can play four bet, shove, or fold, and you might get this kind of spot in a tournament when you're playing short and they three bet to a larger size, right?
So regarding the first the first question, how the versus raise first and range is different. So the three bet ranges, I'm guessing, like we said, they're going to be three bet a little more in position. So basically, we just gotta mirror, shouldn't we just mirror what the in position player should do, basically, or not the in position, but the three better, like just mirror how they adjust, like how they should adjust, basically. Because I mean, if they adjust by three betting us a little bit more because we're deep, we obviously got to flat more, a little more, and four bet more. Isn't that just how it goes?
The percentages end up, I think, going a little bit more towards a call.
Okay. Just to keep that, like you said, so like we can have more.
You flat a bit wider because you just don't have enough value when you're playing out of position deep, right? When you're playing out of position deep, like a value hand isn't a value hand because you have to play post flop, right?
So it's basically just slight adjustments, but those slight adjustments are like they obviously matter. They matter a lot because like if you don't adjust, you're missing out on it. Like you're just playing bad.
Yeah. Okay. And it's sort of like going to the next one, like how do versus four bet ranges differ, right? So 100 blinds deep, and we're in position, right? Say we're in the button and the cutoff opens or whatever. So we three bet the cutoff, and then the cutoff four bets us.
Because we just
how does our strategy differ 100 blinds deep, 200 blinds deep? Does anyone have an idea?
I think we could flat a little more. I think we could flat a little more often, but still have some stronger hands. That's
so it depends.
You can't really five bet small. Like you have to shove.
Your value range get tighter, like tens and jacks becomes flat, then 4-bet. If you are like 300 big blind deep compared to 50 big blind deep, right?
Yeah, I would say flat more in position, and I guess you could 4-bet. How do you versus 4-bet ranges? Because 200 big blinds deep, you face a 4-bet. I mean, can't you still shove? You can still shove a decent amount. I mean, if they make it 3x, you make it 9. They make it, I guess, 27. I mean, that's kind of big, but they make it like 25. I mean, shit, you can still shove there. See, that's
No, I
where
mean, like,
that's where I have trouble because I don't know
you can
what to
just-
shove or what to flat.
You can just
Like,
compare like let's say you have queens, right? And you're low jack versus button. If you are like 20 big blind deep, it's easy 4-bet. If you're 50 big blind deep, it's still easy 4-bet. If you're 100 big blind deep, it's like between a mix between 4-bet and a call. And once you get like 200 big blind deep, it just
like kings,
becomes
ace, king.
calls, right?
Yeah, would you just go kings, ace, king there for 200 big blinds deep then?
Yeah, I would.
Because you think for value you do 2.5%, 2.6% with queens.
So,
off
so we're
the
talking
table.
about facing a 4-bet here, right? So say we're in position and we're facing a 4-bet from the other position, right? So say we're on the button.
Oh, this is facing.
Yes, facing a
Yes,
4-bet.
facing. The same thing applies for the 3-better. The 3-better also knows because it is deep, queens might not be a 4-bet all the time. I'm sorry, the 4-better. So it all depends on the range of the 3-better. So if the 4-better. So if the person who 4-bets us deep knows that queens is not a 4-bet, so his range is more polar. In this case, is more aces, even sometimes kings. It depends if it's 200 big blind. I'm not a fan of going broke with kings, especially live games. So his 4-bet range is very polar. A lot of the suited, baby suited aces and pocket aces. If he 4-bets us, so we should know how we want to play against this range in position in high SPR.
But that's kind of I mean, yeah, definitely I agree with it. I mean, everything you've been saying, everything you say is mostly right. Almost like all the time. I just like, isn't it like, so say that's basically what we do 100. Like, I mean, what we tighten up because we don't want to stack off that deep. I mean, because we do the
Okay.
baby aces.
I'll ask you guys all the questions. So, and it's in my current ranges, which are up now. But if we're in the button and the cutoff is open, we 3-bet and then they 4-bet, what do we do when we have aces and we're 100 big ones deep? And then think about how that compares to 200 big ones deep and sort of in between.
Yeah, we call with aces, and now
go broke
we
with
would want
kings
to
or ace king off.
we would want to 5-bet now because their range is stronger. Their value range is stronger, right? Like they're
Yeah, so 100 big ones deep, we're just shoving kings and ace king a good chunk of the time, right? But
Yeah.
200 big ones deep, what do we do?
You trap more
reverse it because they're probably only going to get it in with kings and ace king. So shouldn't you like
Just call
get it in with
everything.
aces and flat kings?
So we're gonna call wider, I think, if we face a 4-bet 200 big blind deep. We are
In
gonna
live
call
game,
wider.
I call too much with aces. I think I call too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
I mean,
Thomas,
if you're in position and the 4-bet size is massive, like, and then you end up with an SPR of like 5. Sorry. Yeah, like 5. Then you can flat aces for sure. But like here, if you're 200 big blinds deep, right, and you're facing a 4-bet with aces, what do? Do we just shove? Is a 5-bet size a shove? Like, I want you guys to think about what our sizing going to be, right? Because 100 blinds deep, our sizing can definitely be a shove, and we can do that with kings and ace king off, right? Or kings and ace king suited, depending on what we want.
What's going to let us fold? Like, what's going to let us bluff and then still fold? Is that what you're saying? Like, what can we still balance our range with and still, like, what bluffs could we bet fold?
So the sizing I have seen, Snowy
like 50 big, like 50 big blinds, like 50 big blinds. I'm guessing.
Versus a 4-bet when we are on the button, and if we want to have a raise range, a size that Snowy uses most of the times is a quarter pot size raise, like is a click back or half a pot size raise. when we are in position. So the sizing it uses, it doesn't have to be pot size 5-bet. It is 1/4 or 1/2 with a lot of usually this is what a snowy does is the response when it's gonna respond to a large raise, it responds back with a smaller raise. So if it faces a pot size raise as a 4-bet, it uses a quarter size or half a pot size raise sizing. But if and on the other hand, when it faces a small raise, it has a very wide call range because now it gets the
Yeah,
right
that makes
direct odds to call.
yeah, that makes sense. I'm just confused. Like, if they go 27 BBs, like, and if let's say we go, I think 50 is the highest. We like if we go over 50 and they shove, we basically have equity to call with all of our 3-bet hands. Like, if they go 27, we go 60, and they shove, we have to call 140 to win 4. That's
So
like
is
we
it?
need like 35% equity. That's like our whole range.
I used to think this way when when we 5-bet to 50, so we are committing 25% of our stack. Is that right? So let's say we are 200 big blind deep, so we are committing 25% of our stack. First of all, when they come over the top, their range is so strong that those bluffs that you think they have the right odds to call, they're mostly suited aces, and we think, oh, we need 30% equity. They don't get the right price to call versus the range that they come over the top. Yes, they could
Yeah.
have some
Well,
bluffs.
because their range is the range that comes over is crushing you. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yes. Plus, it is fine to just commit 25% of the stack and fold. I remember even Thomas said up to 40 is fine, and technically Snowy uses 50% of the stack. He commits 50% and folds some of the time.
Yeah, because
So,
Thomas, like a SPR, he said like a SPR of 10 or less, and with 200 big blinds deep, the SPR is like around 5, I think, or like it's is it 5? Yeah, it's around, I think, usually after 4-bet, the SPR is like 5.
yes.
So, yeah. Snowy, I have a question about Snowy. Is that so that what it's just what trillions of hands against itself?
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically. I'll have a quick talk about Snowy. So Snowy is one of the AIs that exist. It has its limitations. So it is pretty strong, and so it can give you like quick answers. So if you want like a quick answer and you don't want to like wait 4 hours for your sim to run, then yeah, Snowy is good. But it has limitations in that it can't balance between two raise sizes, and it can't have a 0 EV call pre-flop. So like it can't balance between call and fold pre-flop. So all that put together makes it like super exploitable in a whole bunch of spots. For example, like if you open the button and then Snowy flats, say you open the button for like 2.5 or 3x, and then Snowy flats in the small blind, like Snowy has 4s or 5s, right? So because it plays like that, you can just annihilate it post flop because you know exactly to always bet when there's not a 4 or a 5, and to always check when there's a 4 or a 5 on the flop, right? So
so you
that's just
said
an
they
example.
call it such a defined narrow range.
Yeah, because of the limitations where it can't have a 0 EV decision between calling and folding, or call raising and folding, that kind of stuff. It can't
just
split between folding and calling pre-flop.
Okay. And it just picks one bet size for like its entire range for that one spot, right?
Yeah, so that's
Which
another
is
thing. It
kind of
can't
practical.
can't split between two sizes, and the biggest size is only 2 pot. Where like in some spots where you can just like, especially pre-flop, it's okay. You can just shove like for 5 pot, 8 pot, something like that, and be good, right?
So what's your that makes perfect sense. So what's your well, not conclusion, but what's your sum up for now on versus 4-bets? Because like I'm definitely interested here in what you have to say. I mean we've been talking about it for the past like 10-15 minutes, but as far as out and in position, so those aces, like
yeah. So if we're
we're
in position 100 blinds deep, we can flat aces. 200 blinds deep, and so in position we can flat aces and then shove kings, right? we're 200 big blinds deep, we can't shove kings anymore, and our 5-bet size is going to shrink to something like, as you said, around 50 big blinds, and so the bulk of that is going to be aces as well as some bluffs, right? And we can also flat aces some of the time.
Okay, are those bluffs specific? Like, are they ace 4, ace 5 suited, or like 4, 5, 5, 6 suited, or like, or are they like ace, or are they like ace 10 suited, like kind of stronger hands, or a little bit of everything?
Yeah, it should be a little bit of everything, but blocking
Board
aces becomes pretty important, because not that aces is going to shove against you, is that aces can sometimes shove against you, right? So you don't want to get shoved on.
So in board coverage, does board coverage really matter much when the SPR is like, well, I guess board coverage is always important, but like on your charts where it says call or fold,
it matters a lot less when the SPR gets low. So that's why you see some of the 4-bet pot stuff, the board coverage isn't as important when the 4-bet size gets large. And if you see my current ranges, when we're facing a very large 4-bet, if we're playing out of position, 100 blinds deep, we can just shove. Right, we can play 5-bet or fold against a large 4-bet when we're out of position.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. I remember I had a question I want to ask you. I forgot. Okay, so from the hijack and low jack, I've been doing that 100 big blinds deep, just shipping it. But cutoff, well, like when we open, I think it's 12, 13% of hands. When the cutoff opens and we're in the small blind, when we shove, it's less than that 40%. I know you said it could be like 38%. That's fine because we're shoving. But when I have like a 11 or 12% range from the small blind and the cutoff opens, the shoves are 9 plus ace king ace queen suited, if I remember. Like, I'm pretty sure that was it. And so that's like 3-1. That's like 3.7. That's like 3.7% of hands. Shut up, my dogs are fighting. I'm sorry. So that's like 3.7% of hands we're shipping, and that's definitely that's like 35, 34%. So how do we do with that? Should we only 3-bet 9% then, when it doesn't say that in the charts? Like, because we're 3-betting a lot, and like we're basically.
Sure.
That's what I was confused, because I was checking the charts out and it said it was 9s plus ace king, ace queen suited. It might have been ace. No, it might have been ace yes 2, but I think that's for the button. It was like ace queen suited, and that's some hands it says sometimes call, otherwise fold. But I guess even if you add that a little bit, it seems like if we go like, if it's 11% 3-bet and that's only 3.8%, let's just say 4% even. So that's still based on, like, we usually need like around 40% or 37, 38. We don't even have that much.
This is against the larger 4-bet sizes, against the smaller 4-bet sizes. And this is another thing that when we're talking about which 4-bet size to use, right? But basically against larger 4-bet sizes, because the 4-bet size is so large, we can fold a lot of our range and then shove the rest of it. So we can play 5-bet or fold, right? And so knowing that, when we're making a 4-bet range, we can't use a size that gets them to play 5-bet or fold, because then they can too easily play perfectly against us. Right, so we have to use a small enough size to force them to call some of the time. Right, of course they're going to be 5-betting against us 100 big blinds deep. But
okay, cool.
We're forcing them to call some of the time. And so I will have new versus 4-bet ranges up against smaller 4-bet sizes, against things that you're going to be more tough to play against rather than just shoving or folding.
Okay. Because I just flatted hands like because you had one up before but took it down. I think like you flatted pocket pairs and big suited aces. Like you flatted like 8s, 9s, some 7s, ace 10 suited, ace jack suited.
Yeah, it'll look like that when I put the new ones up.
Okay,
but against a larger 4-bet size, when we're out of position, we can just shove and be pretty happy with.
Okay,
with
cool. Okay, yeah, because that's what I was just referring to. Because because in position I usually like 4-bet like 2.2x or like some shit like that sometimes. But that's what I was referring to. Because when we do just shove, when they make it a bigger size, like those shoves. Yeah, it's fine. Never mind. That's another conversation. It's cool.
We should be talking about 4-bet sizes here, because 100 big blinds deep. If we 4-bet too big, then our opponent can play 5-bet or fold, right? So in position, we want to 4-bet. If we 4-bet too big, then
Yeah, I get that. Well, I was just referring kind of specifically to the charts, but like that's kind of like it's kind of nitpicking, or I'm just like completely wrong. But yeah, it was just that the pre-flop charts, like the cutoff opens in your charts, I know the percentages are going to be off a little because you have sometimes fold, sometimes and this and that, but it's like 11 or 12%. And then if they make like a 3x 4-bet, which is too big, we're going to shove, or let me take that back. Let's say they make it like 2.5 or 2.6, 2.7. Like if we still, I think that's the size we can still ship over if it's like 25 big blinds or 22 big blinds. And then we ship it with 9s plus, ace, king, ace, queen suited. That's like when you do the math, we need, it says 40% directly, but you said we could do a little bit less because we're shoving. But it's like 35%. Like, isn't that 5% like a big difference? Like, let's say the math says we need 40, and when we use your complete shoving charge with our 3-bet range, let's say it comes to like we're only 5-betting 35%. So we're only defending 35% when the math says 40. That's what I'm kind of saying. Like, does that really matter too much? Because I know 38% doesn't matter. Like, we talked about that before, but like with 35% really, because I don't want to like end up shipping like I don't want to go too loose and end up going with 8s and ace jack suited, you know?
I think we are getting a little bit far from what we are focusing here. To be honest.
Yeah, I think I've constructed my ranges such that if you're facing a very large 4-bet, you can and should shove exactly such that they have 0 EV on their bluffs, right? So if you're getting the numbers a bit off, then just adjust it.
Yeah, okay,
right, using the thin hands, and then.
So the 9s and ace jack suited were basically, like you said, they're basically bluffs.
Well, if we're playing shove or fold, then like it's hard to tell what's a bluff and what's not a bluff, right? Yeah. Anyway, so what the point I was trying to make was that if we're constructing a 4-bet range, so we've just faced a 3-bet and we're 100 big blinds deep, we want a 4-bet. We can't 4-bet so large that they can just play 5-bet or fold against us, because they can play perfectly against us and we don't win too much from their mistakes, right? We can't win a lot from their mistakes, and we want our opponents to be making mistakes against us. Okay, so we should use a slightly smaller 4-bet size so that they have to have some calls in order to defend enough, because they don't have enough value to shove the extra chips. But 200 big blinds deep, when we're constructing our 4-bet range in position, we can start to use these larger sizes because they can't just shove as easily, right? So we can start to 4-bet 3x in position when we're 200 big blinds deep, because a shove is just ridiculous, right? So say, and because we're opening to 2 big blinds, right? Say we open 2 or 2.5 or whatever you guys like to open. I like to open 2. Say we open 2 and then they 3-bet to 10. Then 200 big blinds up, I can still 4-bet to 40. I mean, 4-bet to 30. So I can still 4-bet to 30 pretty comfortably, and they can't shove to 200 because I just fold too much and then I just call with like aces and kings. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, perfect sense. Yeah.
So
but 100 big blinds deep.
When we are out of position and we want a 4-bet, do you still believe we should?
I mean, the lowest I go is like 2.5x at least.
Pot size raise 4-bet out of position because we are in position disadvantage, and this pot size raise in 100 big blind kind of puts the in position player into a shove or fold situation.
In position, no. In position, they can flat aces, and then have like other flats as well, and then we can't go nuts in the post flop because they have so much aces in their range. Does that make sense? So,
when we want a 4-bet out of position, we can still in 100 big blind we can still use the 3 times sizing, 3 times.
Well, that just depends.
depends like what size you open. Like if because I'm opening 2, and then the 3-bet center facing is 6. I can 4-bet to 18.
Yeah, if we use
Just
3
fine.
BB, then we can still 4-bet to 24.
Yeah. When you 4-bet more than like a
Yeah.
quarter of the effective stacks, then you're basically like if they shove, you're gonna just have to call with like probably all the hands you 4-bet with, basically, like just based on the math.
Yeah, that starts being a problem when they're in position and they can start like bluff shoving you with 2s or something. Then it's not great. So you do have to watch out for your sizes when 100 big blinds deep. And this is another thing. When you start to play very deep, you can increase your open raise size, and you can see this in simulations when like the heads up simulations.
While the range stand is wide.
Yeah, so it's like in heads up sims, when you play sort of shallower, like less than 100 big blinds,
Position has more
the
value.
preferred raise size is 2 big blinds because then you can play more post flop. But as you get up to 200 big blinds, the preferred raise size increases up to around 3 big blinds. Preferred, I mean like the one that like if you have like a 3 big blind open, a 2.5 big blind open, and a 3.5 big blind open, it just chooses 3, right? It chooses in the sense that it does it most frequently because you're deeper and you're playing in position, right? So when you're playing very deep, there is an argument to opening a little bit bigger, especially on the button, right? Just because you're in position and you're very deep, and you want to get more value when you're deep.
Right. Okay, so what's next?
All right, so next we're going to talk about our homework, so our hand history. So who wants to go first? Who wants to talk about their analysis of their own hand history? I think Narama, did you say you need to go early? So do you want to talk about yours first? Let me put you on the screen share. All right, so now if you share your screen, then everybody will see that.
Okay, 1 second here.
Yeah, how do you do that? How do you show the like
the screen share is on the top left. It's the green arrow thing.
I see.
So Thomas, do you want me to go through my own hand history or the one?
Yep. So first go over your own hand history and talk about how you analyze it. So talk about your thought process when you were playing it.
Okay.
And then your analysis afterwards.
Sure. This is a spot I usually have been struggling, and when I track, I see I have lost a lot of BB when I get into small blind versus big blind wars, and I'm on a small blind out of position. So this is an example. Small blind versus big blind. It is a 3-bet pot, and the effective stacks is 186 big blind. So I'm on a small blind. Hero is on the small blind, 186 big blind, and I have ace of heart, jack of spade. So I raise to 3 big blind to attack the big blind, and the villain, he's a good player. I decided not to say anything about villain, that he is aggro, this and that. So we only stick to GTO results, and then we do the deviation later. So unknown villain, but just good one. On the big blind, he covers me. He 3-bets to 9 big blind, and I call with this hand. I thought this hand is strong enough to defend. So the flop comes jack high, jack of diamond, 10 of heart, 6 of a spade. So here I am on a lot of range disadvantage, and I have not disadvantage as well, because he could have jack or 10 more than me, but I could have some top twos. So this way, eventually I decided to check. Villain bets half pot, 9 BB, and I call. Turn is a 6 of diamond, so the backdoor flush draw comes in. So this is a perfectly a spot for villain to get polar, as it is a bad card for his range. So he actually did get polar, so I check and he bets pot here. He bets 36 BB into 36 BB. I still call. So river is pot is 108 big blind. 8 of diamond comes. The backdoor flush draw gets there. And I check, and now he overbets all in 175 big blind, and it is up to me now. So I believe this hand is one of the hands that are top of my range. I could have, for the same reason, I could have queen jack suited, king jack suited that are worse hands than this. The better hands I could have are sometimes pocket tens, sometimes trip sixes, some very tiny small percentage of flushes that I have backdoored him. And in terms of ace jack offs, the ace, the combos that have a diamond in them are better hands to call, like ace of diamond, jack X. But I still thought this hand is one of the hands on the top of my range. And so what do you guys think? Do you think we should call this all in here, or we should let it go?
Can I first ask you a few basic questions, right? So how many ace jack off are you 4-betting, or are you calling preflop? How many combos do you have? You have 12 total. How do you separate the
That's a good
12 ace
question.
jack off into 4-bet or call?
If I want to 4-bet, when I want to 4-bet and I'm out of position, I try to stick to the suited aces, like ace 9 suited, ace 8 suited. So the only offsuit combos I am going to 3-bet are ace queen off and ace king off, especially this wide. I don't want to off, so I'm gonna have all.
Yeah, me myself, I have some ace 10 off as a bluff. I think, yeah,
bluff is way better than ace jack. Ace jack.
I feel like ace jack it's strong enough to call. Yeah. Okay, so we have
talking about ace jack off versus the 3-bet. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
for sure. I think yeah, you want to versus a 3-bet. I think, like, I mean, if you're following the Zenith charts, I mean, like, you're calling with a lot of hand, like any pair, ace 10 up, king jack, some suited connectors, 7-9 suited, queen 9, like king 6 suited. So you have what's the bet size on the flop? So king 6 suited. You might even turn trips. I mean,
okay, so we have 12 combos of ace jack off, and how many 6x do you have? How many do you only have 6-7 suited?
Not many. I have 6-5 suited. I have 6-4 suited, because this is a small blind versus big blind. I have to call with some weaker one.
Yeah, I mean, you can flat 4-5 suited up, 7-9 suited up, king 6 suited up versus yeah, you can have 4-5. Yeah, you can flat all those hands versus a big blind 3-bet, like 4-5 suited and 7-9 suited. They're at the bottom of your range, though.
Yes, but because you said that we gotta overfold on the flop.
Well, that's
how many
fine.
bottom pairs I'm gonna peel on the flop with. So maybe the ones with the backdoor flush, like 6-7 of heart, 6 8 like 7.
Yeah, because those hands are better than 7s, 8s, and 9s, because I mean, you block. Well, he shouldn't be 3-betting you with 6s unless you min raise. But like, he's 3-betting probably 8s or higher. But like, your 8s and 9s, all your 6s are better than your 8s and 9s. So I mean,
yes, for sure, because they have 5 outs to outdraw him. But so I'm gonna let the 8s and 9s go with majority of time, because we have to, because this is not a good board for us, and we have to overfold a lot. So if he's gonna bet half of the pot, the MDF is I'm gonna fold 33% of my range. But in this case, I would say maybe I'm gonna fold 43% of my range. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna have many 6s here, but definitely I'm gonna have a middle pair.
So you're folding how much? Because they're betting half pot, so you're defending.
So if MDF and he's now betting half pot, so
it's 2/3, but you're behind a lot on the flop.
So like in Zenith, we don't talk about MDF, we talk about alpha, right? Okay. Have ever mentioned MDF in any of my videos? Have I ever mentioned MDF?
alpha should be 33% in theory, but because we are in range and not disadvantage, we should fold way more than 33. I would say
Yeah, I would
42.
47. I would probably personally I would defend 47% of my range like on this
So
board because
tell
we're behind 60-40.
So what kind of king six I have? I have king six of diamond, which I call, king six of heart, I call, but king six of club, I let it go, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way
So not many
something
sixes.
something quick you can do like to like help you like actually in game like if you can is you can actually try to like let's say for example you get to this flop let's say with like based off the charts you get to this flop with 14% of hands like if he's betting that size you should defend 2/3 of that minus because you're at a 20% equity disadvantage. They got 60% equity on you on this flop. So like if you can remember like let's say alpha like without the equity involved, let's say alpha this is 14% we get here, alpha has you defending 2/3 and then that would be 9% of 14, but you're at a 20% equity disadvantage on this flop, so you can actually only like defend like about a little under 7% of hands. So when you face that pot size bet on the turn, you get to the turn with a little less than 7% of hands. You face a pot size bet. You should now have 3.5% of hands. Like this is assuming you're not raising the turn. So when you get to the river and you face a shove, what was that shove? 1.5x. So that's 40%. So I'm just guessing. I forget what the size was. So if it's 40% and you have 3.5% of hands, that's like 1.6% or some shit. Like you could remember this stuff in game. Like like you could definitely like really get close to remembering this in game. Because like I play 4 tables and like I know I'm getting to that river with like 3.5%, like 3% of hands, a little over 3%. And like I mean, I might be. I don't think I'm off that like that much. Like if someone wants to, but that would probably take some time. But like I think you can actually get to that point in game. Like of course you're folding a lot on the flop because they have a 60-40 on you. So like you're gonna fold. You to mitigate your equity disadvantage, you have to fold more on the flop. Like that's the only way to try to mitigate your disadvantage, or else you're just gonna stack off too light.
Yeah, it's mathematically, if you look at the 0-1 games lecture, which I did, the reason why the out-of-position player overfolds is because the in-position player has to sacrifice the checking EV of the checkback EV of their bluffs, right? So if their bluffs are going to have a lot of checkback EV on a board, you just have to overfold, right? So like if you look at the paired flops video, the reason why the out-of-position player is overfolding so much is because the checkback EV of all these bluffs is just so high, right? So they have to overfold, and then because they're overfolding, they have to try and make up for that by
some
raising a
deep
lot.
level. Like that probably sounds simple. I mean, I'm pretty sure that sounds simple to you, but like, cause I don't. I mean, I understand that a little bit, but that's some next level shit. Like it sounds it makes perfect sense because it's like it just makes sense. But it's like to get to that, logic, like like a lot of people ain't gonna it's gonna be hard for a lot of people to get there. Like
Which is
the
good.
EV of the check back range. Like that's some sophisticated no limit hold'em strategy talk right there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I mean, I get it makes perfect sense.
I think that's been around since mathematics of poker.
See, I ain't read it yet.
It's in that book, but no one reads that book because like they explain it. They explain it like just using all math and like not bringing it to any sort of not making you think about it in terms of like real examples, right?
Is that with that Chen dude or what's his name?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, he's a
So
smart
what
guy.
I believe here, on the turn, when the villain pots it, most of my range are gonna be bluff catchers with no draw, unless there's a monster draw. The monster draws that I have decided not to ship, like Queen Nine of Diamond. But other than that, most of my range are gonna be bluff catchers from turn to river. and so we are gonna discount as the straight because 8 on the river, queen 9 got there, but I don't think I have queen 9 a lot of time, because I am supposed to fold my draws on the turn because he bets pot there. So
are you really sure about that? I mean, this deep, it seems as if you can call some draws out of position.
I mean, you have to call. So I mean, if you're gonna be overfolding if you fold your draw, like you're getting to the turn with, you're getting to the turn with like 7% of hands. About like that's.
So
is it 7? No, it's 3.5.
It just seems like against this bet, like you can call some draws out of position, and then like when they brick, you can like donk like 1/8 pot or something. Does that make sense?
That's some next level shit.
River block bet.
Yeah. So you would bluff donk the missed draws, and then like you have some Jack X.
That's the game tree.
Some like nutted hands in there that just ship over the raise.
Yeah, I mean, I did not put this hand on solver due to being too deep and wide ranges, so the game tree would be too big. I have upgraded my computer, but I still think it is gonna take a while. That's why I don't know the results yet. I don't know what type of draws I have on the turn, especially the board is paired and draws a lot of value. But of course, I'm gonna have some flush draws, but I'm saying straight flush draws. So I don't have a straights, to be honest with you.
So I mean, you're gonna have like you're calling the turn with like 40 to 50 combos. So like if you're definitely gonna have some draws and like like all your ace jack, king jack suited tens.
Did Salim have a look at this hand? What did you think?
Yeah, I did, and I actually put it in solver.
Yep. Did you want to share your screen? Stop it over.
Yeah, of course, but it's with different ranges. I actually.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Different ranges, interesting.
Okay. Let me just stop it right here. Let me.
So it's over to you now. Just share your screen when you're ready.
Okay.
In my opinion, right, if you put into solver, the big blind player has to bluff you with like pocket fours, pocket fives, pocket threes with a diamond, or like any ace of diamond 5x, or like those type of hands.
But they're not they're not 3-betting them pre-flop versus a 3x. So versus a min raise, the 5s and 6s and 7s are 3-betting.
I think a solver would. I think definitely
a 3x.
Yes, I think the solver will have like some
sometimes you can
some fives, some six,
sometimes
some ace 5 off, some ace 6 off. That's how solver plays.
Yeah,
so,
but but if you're trying to make that you could make that practical, but they do that at a mixed strategy. So that's, I don't know, that mixed strategy shit implemented in practice, you could do it, but that's like, oh, I have like 3 combos of 5s here instead of 6. I have 2 combos of 4 here instead of 6. It's more board coverage,
right?
Shit. Yeah,
it doesn't seem hard, right?
It's a better game for sure.
So okay, here's the first thing that I noticed. So at 200 big blinds deep, I have a Monker solution for 6 max, and for 200 big blinds deep, ace jack offsuit is not that great of a call pre-flop. It loses 2.7.
Can you press enter or something to make it?
Oh, like this?
No, if you press enter on your keyboard.
And okay, then, I did.
Just change the ranges a bit, and then that should fix it. So like it's not.
Is there something wrong?
No. So just
click. I can see it. It's just a little small.
No, this is okay. Just click on the left-hand side. Click any of the ranges.
Yeah, I did.
Click a different one.
What?
Click a different one.
Okay.
Now press enter, or space, and now click the one that you're looking at before.
It doesn't change.
There you go.
Did it change?
Yeah, it changes. So now we can see the frequencies.
It changed. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Monker's got this weird thing where it doesn't tell you the frequencies. It just gives you like something to do, and then if you press enter or space, then it gives you the frequencies.
Okay, I didn't actually know this. This is cool. So like I'm just looking at the EVs. The call is minus. I mean, this is for 2.5 big blind open. It might change for 3 big blind opens, but here it says folding is the best option pre-flop for 200 big blind dip. But consider that this is not 100% accurate. Like this is not run to the fullest accuracy, but I mean it's close. So we can actually call, but we might want to fold a lot of the time. And so I did.
That's interesting because I don't think I'm ever folding ace jack there. I mean, I don't open 2.5x, but I don't think I'm ever folding ace jack there.
The thing is, like 200 big blinds deep with ace jack,
that's
like
bad.
in-position player is gonna be putting you in a lot of tough spots, like this one, for example, where we don't know actually what to do.
Can you hover your mouse over 6-5 suited, please?
Okay, let me.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. But that's just, man, I don't see myself.
6-5 suited is a better call, and it's also profitable to 4-bet, but not calling is more profitable.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't trust the EVs on this more than the than the frequencies. I think the frequencies are for some reason more accurate than the EVs. For this one.
If it says,
I'll show you guys if you want.
It is called.
If you want, I can show you the I can show you this Pio solver solution. Do you guys know about
Oh, I did actually have
Pio Cloud or something? Pio Cloud. If you guys have Pio, then you should know about Pio Cloud. Anyway, I'll show you this. I'll share my screen.
Was that the edge?
Should I close my screen? How do I do that?
So on the top left, the screen share. So let me.
Okay.
Since there is a break in the conversation.
Can everyone see me? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
So there was this break in the conversation. I wanted to say something because Narimar said something earlier that I didn't like at all. So he said something like, "We're bluff catching from the turn to the river." I think that we're bluff catching from pre-flop, right? And on the flop, we actually have a flop that we can defend to a c-bet. And then on the turn, again, we need to evaluate by the river and by that size, half pot, over bet. I think the value of top pair, top keeper on that board is very low. So I think that ace jack against that particular line is actually, it's like the bottom of your range that you should ever consider calling. So if that player is phenomenally good and capable of bluffing you there with, I don't know, ace-5 with the ace of diamonds or something weird like that, maybe you should consider ever calling with ace-jack. Otherwise, I think that's way too low on your value range, on your bluff catching basically range.
We gotta know what better hands we have and what worse hands we have, so we are not gonna fold the top of our range because this way. So
and you want to take into account blockers too, you know, because I mean the ace jack with the diamonds is better.
Yeah, but we have a lot of worse hands. I believe we have king jack offs that we are gonna let them go on the river. We have queen jacks, sometimes queen jack offs that we are gonna.
If you get with queen jack to the river, I think you're making a mistake on the turn. That's my opinion, at least.
On the turn, I don't know.
I mean, on the turn, you have to defend. I mean, you got to defend like 7% or so hands. Maybe
I'll show you guys this pre-flop sim, and then you can think about the pre-flop ranges.
Because I mean, you're gonna have sixes.
So here, this is a pre-flop sim done by some guys a few years ago in Pio Solver. Anyway, so this is 150 big blinds deep, so not quite as deep as that. But here we can see that the small blind opening ranges between, like, here it's got 3 sizes. It's got raise to 3x, raise to 2x, and then call. And you can see it's calling a big chunk, and it's not raising very often.
But
anyway,
does Nariman use the mixed strategy or just pure strategy of raising or folding?
I think it's a mixed strategy that he calls sometimes.
No, as in what did you do?
No, are you using pure or mixed?
No. I'm using fold or raise. It is hard.
So it's gonna be it's really hard to mix in the small blind. Anyway, so let me just show you so you can have an idea. So we open and then they 3-bet, and then this is our continuing range against the 3-bet. So here they've got it raised to 2.2. Sorry, 22 big blinds over the 9 big blind raise. And so this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like with the frequencies on it. I'll take off the frequencies, then sort of this is what it looks like. Is this clear enough for everyone? Which one do you want? You want this one or do you want this one?
What is the gray?
Either one.
The gray means it's not in range.
This is fine.
So will we fold some ace jacks offs? I don't.
They were limped pre.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
so
they're limped
This
at the
is a
start.
mixed strat. Yeah, because
Yes.
I know for like 100 big blinds deep, yeah, it's like a mix. Like you open 20 and limp 40% and all that shit.
So yeah, I was thinking, yeah, ace 10 off to 4-bet is kind of too loose. As we see here, he just sticks to suited cards to 4-bet. Ace jack is the bottom.
What about four? I mean, couldn't you 4-bet like the weaker offsuit broad, like king 10, queen jack, like
No,
the offsuit Broadway is the weaker ones?
We miss a lot of flops. I believe they are not good to 4-bet because we miss a lot of flops too often.
Yeah, deeper is not as good. Like 100 big blinds deep, you can
you go
because you
suited?
get shipped on a lot, and so like you can just fold when you get shipped on.
Should we have like
Um,
suited some suited aces or the connectors?
Yeah, as you see,
I think it has
the
it.
red one, yeah. With queen 10 suited, we can 4-bet sometimes here. So ace jack off is mostly call. And at this point, yeah, I mean, let me take a picture of this and just plug this in, and I run the solver myself to see.
Hey Tom,
I believe
Thomas,
Yep.
what would you suggest having here like 4-bet like what kind of? Because I'm guessing suited hands, since the SPR is going to be a little bit deeper. Some blockers, some like ace X blockers when deeper.
Have you seen Snowy forward ranges? I mean, I think
No.
Snowy value like ace X, any ace X more than like 8-9 suited,
Yeah.
7-8 suited.
Yes, Snowy likes its aces for some reason. I think that's probably a mistake.
From having
You know,
bad
I use-
aces.
I
He
use
really
Snowy
likes
and Snowy 4-bet a lot of ace jack, ace 10.
Yeah. Like Snowy plays. Like there are some spots where you can just like shove any ace against Snowy and like you can print against him, because he's so ace X heavy, right? Where that, yeah, like I'll give you an example where it's 4-bet range is like ace and then like a bunch of ace X suited,
Yeah.
but like it's got 6 combos of aces and then like 35 combos of ace X suited, so you can just shove anything against it. Like it folds with the ace X, but it only calls the aces, so you end up winning because it folds so much. So it is exploitable in the spots where it's not expecting your opponent to shove, and it's not the reason why it's not expecting to get shoved on, because its biggest bet size is only 2 pot. So
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. So this is just one example of a solve for pre-flop in this spot. So maybe you can think about using this and thinking about what a range would look like. Like here we can see we got a lot more 6s than the ones that I have. We're about a6, but some 9-6, got a bunch of king 6. Right. What do you guys think now?
Well, now I still just ace jack because 9, 12.
I still think we're heading with this conversation in the wrong direction. Basically, we need to take in consideration his betting line. If we don't talk about his betting line, then we're not going to be able to find any reasonable conclusion for this hand, because
Yeah,
this type
go
of
back to
line.
the hand. Go back to the hand again.
Yeah, so this type of line, half pot, overbet shove, is a very specific line done with specific hands. You shouldn't expect here villain to have any random bullshit. This is a line that's taken with high equity hands on the turn that they were bluffing the flop. They picked up equity on the turn and they plan to shove rivers on basically most
So one
rivers.
thing, Augustine, you are making a very strong assumption. Yes, I understand that this is a very strong line, but we only want to stick to GTO and not the past experience that what the micro stake interpretation. Yes, in micro stake, this line is always value. So I wanted to see GTO wise if this hand is strong enough to come into our calling range on the
Yeah,
river.
GTO, this is a call. Easy.
No, you misunderstood me. I
I'm
didn't
going
say
to
that
argue the other way, right?
Well, I
Because
think
here,
he's- I think he's
all
saying-
the bluffs on the
Does
flop get there, right? They can bluff a 6, and the 6
Does the
gets
opponent
there.
have any bluffs?
They can bluff Queen 9, and Queen 9 gets there. They can
King
bluff
Queen,
diamonds, and diamond
he
gets
could have
there.
a lot of King Queens that we are not
That
blocking.
is true. So you have to think about how much extra you should fold after bluffs get there.
Right.
Because naturally, because when bluffs get there, we should fold a little bit more. Have you guys seen the? Oh no, wait, I haven't made that video yet.
Well, yeah,
Anyway,
I mean, because their range
when-
is stronger, or our range adds a little more stronger hands.
So I haven't made the video yet, but anyway, when bluffs get there, we should fold a bit more because it's harder for them to be bluffing. In spots where it's hard for them to be bluffing, we should fold more.
Right,
Yeah, that's,
and
what
just
that's what the guy was saying. He was talking about, can villain possibly even have good bluffs here? So that's where he was getting to. Like, well, like what is villain bluffing with?
Pocket fives with a diamond, pocket fours with a diamond,
But
ace
it's just
diamond
based on
X,
the
ace
size.
diamond X,
Yeah,
eight
true.
nine, eight nine suited.
Based
No, but
on
the
the
thing is,
size,
like,
King
you-
Queen.
you have
Yeah,
to
but
do
the
it
thing is-
based on the size, and like he's risking this to win that. So based on his value bets, is the ratio of his bluffs, like are they in his range? Do they stack up? So let's say he has like 10 combos for value he ships. Does he have, what does he need? What, 6 or 7? He can have what, 7 or 6, 7 bluffs for 10 or some shit like that. Like, does he have those bluffs for the value? Like based on the sizing, and does that sizing make sense? Like, is he going too thin, or is he only doing full houses and flushes and straights? So like you kind of
Okay,
got
so
to break all that down.
who ran the sim? Did Salim run the sim?
I did run the sim.
What
I
did
that.
you think? Can you show us what you've got? So show us
course.
your sim, even if the ranges aren't perfect. So to see what you got.
Okay, I ran. Okay, let me.
I mean,
just.
Let me put you on.
I can see Ace Jack folding here if opponent doesn't
am
have that many.
Are you guys
bluffs.
seeing this right now?
No,
Are you
yeah.
guys seeing this right now? Okay, so this is my first sim, which is obviously not great because the ranges are not that wide here. And this is your calling range that I gave, and this is the in position 3-bet range, which I just put a lot of different things in.
Okay.
And I did run a second simulation as you were talking, but I mean, you can give me the ranges and I can run them again to give you the solution. Anyways, so on the root we check, and villain bets half pot just like he did in the original hand, and we call with ace jack, and the turn is the 6 of diamonds. I didn't put any donking range because like I don't think we should be donking, especially this deep.
Yeah.
And on the turn, exactly as the villain does, solver likes to bet pot or check. And let's see, and we are still calling ace jack, and we're also calling queen jack, king jack, and even king 10, queen 10.
What
This is
draws
what
do we have?
we have. King 9 of diamonds check shoving, queen 9 of diamonds check shoving, like not all the time, but most of the time, and 9-10 of diamonds.
So we let the king queen offs go because we shouldn't be having straight draws that much.
Yeah, we're only check calling with the flush draw and the straight draw combinations like king queen, ace queen, and ace king suited, which I put very little in. And we're calling them, and we're check shoving the other lower showdown value combo draws basically. And 9-10 of diamonds is
with the 6-6s we have.
Yeah, we are check shoving all the sixes we have except for the ace 6, which I think is because ace 6 blocks his calling range of aces, right? Like he's probably betting aces here, right? Yeah. So we're check shoving with 6-7, 5-6.
And another thing about ace 6 is ace-6 blocks ace-high, so if we call on the turn, we're more likely to face a bet on the river because they're less likely to check back ace-high. It's one of these weird things you have to think about blockers. Like, do you block their checking range in the next street kind of thing?
Yeah, that makes a
Anyway, keep going.
perfect sense.
Okay, so we're check shoving the lower showdown value draws and sixes and calling the rest of the range, which is weird, and we are calling nines here, actually. We're not letting it go most of the time. And
Yeah,
when we
what we gotta
call-
call we gotta call the turn with like 6 or 7% of hands, and that's a lot of combos.
Yeah, and the river is the 8 of diamonds. I still didn't put any donking range. I can do that as well. And we check, and villain shows with basically jacks, tens, any sixes that he has. Wow, he actually checks back 6-7, and he
Why
shows
is he
6-8.
checking back queen?
He's
Why
only
is he-
checking. I don't know why is he checking queen. Did you ask
Well, I
that?
mean,
Yes, on the
I mean-
river, villain. He should be
Okay,
go
so
for it.
Why do you think queen is a value bet?
but
I
no,
think-
because you block some well, the queen. I don't think queen's a value bet because you block some of their hands and then expect. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know. In practice, I think queen's
I think
pushing.
Yeah, it seems a little thin. Anyways, if you look at the calling range against a shove, maybe that will tell you why it's so thin.
I think he's checking queens because we are not check raising jacks and tens, so we have a lot of full houses on the river. So our
So we
range
don't-
isn't that like.
Okay, so we don't check raise even them on the turn. We just check call them on the turn again.
Yeah, against the pot size bet, jacks and
Yeah.
tens are check calling.
That makes
But
sense.
yeah, only 6x is check raising. I guess it's kind of because of protection and maybe when we raise, does he call ace jack? Does he even have
Because
ace
we are
jack
not
now?
blocking his continue range when we have
Yeah.
12 6s.
Well, 6x. I think 6x's are the only check raises because you got to think like when the board pairs. Like I noticed, like I don't use solvers much at all, but I feel like I mean when the board pairs, what I see from other people using solvers is that you have to. I think I don't know. You have to. I see a lot of not random checks, but a lot of checks thrown in with top pair hands, some over pair hands, even some trips when the board pairs. So maybe because when you're checking, in position player bets again on the turn when the board pairs. I just think shit gets real. So the sixes, yeah, that doesn't make sense to only have a strong turn check raise here because when the board pairs, ranges get a little weird sometimes.
So what's interesting here on the river is that when we check and he shoves, we are calling king 10 of diamonds, which is okay, but we're also calling king 10 of spades sometimes, like ace 10 of spades, which is weird. And for the ace jack, we fold this combination. I think that was what you had,
Over
right?
half the
Ace of
time.
hearts, ace of
The ones
hearts,
without
and
a
jack of
diamond
spades.
we fold. The ones with the diamond, I think we call. The
No,
ones without a diamond.
no. We call with ace of spades, jack of hearts, for example, even though we don't have a diamond.
I mean, you
I
got to
think
call with
when
the ones without a diamond too, or you're over folding.
So when I look at this, I see that solver doesn't like to call with ace of hearts. So let me just go at it like this. So when we look at this raw, so it folds when it has the ace of hearts, always
sense.
folds. Why does it make sense? Like ace of
Because
hearts
the
shouldn't
because the
really
10 of
be
hearts, I mean, the
relevant.
back doors.
What do you mean?
You block their bluffs. You block some of their.
No. We are holding. Oh, sorry, you're right.
Let me check. Okay,
mean,
so we're calling it when we have the ace of spades, we're folding when we have the ace of hearts, and we're calling when we have the ace of diamonds, basically. And
To be honest with you, sometimes I do the solver and I get confused and lost in the combo calling things, and I never come into the conclusion why this is the case. One of the things is that because the combos are so tiny, very small percentage, some of these could be errors. Not errors, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's why I
generally
was.
true, but it is hard to come up to a pattern why.
I think
ace of
I think
spades.
I think this has to be about his bluffing range here. So when we go to this node, we have to
I think
find
simply on
something.
this river, if you block a flush, it's just good to
Yeah.
block a flush.
And I
right?
think if
So-
you have
Yes,
the ace
it
of
is good to
hearts,
block a
Yeah, but
flush.
like,
It is-
like
it's
the
good
ace
to
of
block
hearts
a
and
flush, but you see here we block the flush and we call 71%, but let me go at it again. So here we don't block the flush, but we call 93%. So it has to be about ace of spades being relevant.
yeah, because the spade, I think the spade bluffs around the 6, because that 6 of spades. I think if you had like a 7, well, yeah, I guess a 7 or something that connects more closer to the 6, the spade's more important. But with the heart, I think connecting, I'm just guessing, connecting more closer to the 10 because of the straight draws. I think that's why the ace of hearts is folded more, because like you block their bluffs, because the ace of hearts is going to block some ace queen of hearts. I'm guessing shit like that. I'm kind of just guessing, but that's what makes sense to me. The spade, the ace of spade doesn't really matter too much, because with backdoor ace of spade is going to connect with the 6, or like,
Okay,
I don't know.
so
That's what makes sense
I'm
to me.
not
I don't know.
I'm not really sure why the solver is doing this, and I didn't really look into it. I think we should be able to find the answer in the villain's betting range on the river, but I don't think it matters. At the end of the day, you call almost like half of the ace jack that you come to river with, so you can just like call the ones with the diamond and just fold the rest. It shouldn't really be that much of a difference in this hand. And this is the first sim that I did, and I did another one. Let's see if it brings up any other thing.
So one thing,
So
Salim, first of all, thank you very much for doing this. It was very helpful.
but
The thing
I
that-
should sorry, I should just say again, like if you have your ranges and if you have the Valencia ranges, you can send them to me. I can run the same simulation again.
Sure. The only thing I believe that 10-10 and Jack-Jack could be a 4-bet most of the times, small blind versus big blind wars, because there is still good value bluffs.
Oh
Value
yeah,
hands.
yeah, yeah.
So that's why I'm saying maybe that is why we could have less
Well,
Jack-Jack or 10-10.
so here
when you get a
in the
bit deeper,
This is too deeper. Yeah, this might be too deep for.
yeah, in the first simulation I did like 30% jacks and tens are for betting, 70% they're calling. So
Yeah, I think 10s and jacks should flat both of them. I think 150. Well, I would
But
definitely
in-
flat 10s probably.
but I think in this simulation I just put them
pre-flop,
in
they're
a-
probably okay to 4-bet the majority of
Yeah.
the time.
Yes,
But
so
I think they should be 3-bet. I mean, they should call some frequency.
So
Yeah,
Thomas,
in this-
do you think as we get deeper, we should call more with Jack-Jack or 10-10 rather than 4-betting?
Like
them?
Queen's Ace King, 150.
Yeah, so here if you look at
think that's it.
my ranges against the 3-bet, we're always 4-betting jacks, and the reason is
Yes.
if you get shipped on, you can just snap it off, right? And you're very happy. But when you get to 200 big blinds deep, you 4-bet it, and then if you get 5-bet, you're not so happy anymore.
Hey, could we just?
What is our sorry? So what is our 4-bet range changes here when we get deeper? This could be a good example of what our discussion has been. Our 4-bet range out of position.
Shouldn't it be?
Yeah,
Shouldn't
I'll share my screen again.
Shouldn't it be Queens up Ace King? Like if we're doing like if it's 200 big blinds deep, shouldn't our value range be cut in half?
Yes, that is true, but we cannot reduce our 4-bet frequency only because of this.
So this is
I
sort of
understand.
Well,
we
you're gonna
less
have
value.
to reduce your frequency, because if you're 4-betting for less for value, then you can't have as many bluffs. You're going to be over your ratios aren't going to be right.
anyway.
I
So
think we
that's
should
tough to
add
see.
bluffs. Let's see what he has here.
Anyway, so you can sort of see the difference, like with the jacks and the tens. There's not too much difference, but jacks goes from always forwarding to only sort of sometimes, and then the ace queen goes up, and sort of like the suited aces goes up, which is sort of what you would expect, right? The suited hands to go up, and then like the pocket pairs to go down a bit, because when you're playing deep, you want to have some more flushes, right?
Right. Wow.
So that's the 4-bet blind versus blind at that stack depth, the ace 10 suited, king jack suited, ace jack suited, and all that?
Yes, that's what I was looking for. How the trend changes.
Yeah, so obviously you're going to add in more suited hands when you're deep, right? So like that's what's going on between these two, right? From only these suited hands to like a whole bunch more of extra stuff to bluff it, to increase the frequencies you got. And you see these offsuit hands, like here, the offsuit hands would work pretty well when you're shorter. The reason is because you have these blocker effects, but when you're deep, they're not so great as 4-bets because one, you're out of position, and two, because you're out of position and you're deep, you are more likely going to have to play post flop. And then if you have an offsuit hand post flop, it goes back to what Norman was talking about at the beginning, where you're just dominated often.
Okay. Very good.
All right. So, does anyone else have anything to say about that hand, or we can move to the next hand, or like, how are you guys feeling? Do you guys want to keep going? We're almost at 2 hours now.
No, that's good. That was
the results.
really long.
Sorry, because everybody was thinking about it. I just tell you the results, and we are good. So I called, and hero and a villain had queen, and I got it stacked up for 180 big blind.
Yeah, queen is super thin there. So
yeah,
there's some razor thin shit. You should.
Does he have a diamond?
No, he did not.
Oh, he.
Wow.
Then he's gonna get punished in the future. I think it's too thin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too thin.
I was wondering.
Sure.
Okay. I was just wondering on the flop there. Are we actually folding king 6 clubs? It seems very. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems very very tight. Just a half pot bet. Like
No,
maybe still
you're
can show the
Yeah,
man,
I think
you calling king 6 there, player.
Yeah.
I have like 5-5 or 7-7 to let go, but all king 6s because we have 5 outs to crack him. I think all king 6s are called.
Okay, because I thought you said you'd fold king 6 close.
Yes, I said that earlier. I even wrote it on the chat, but I believe bottom pair is a better call because I have 5-5, 4-4 that I can let them go.
Okay, yeah, just making sure that one thing. Okay, that's fine.
Sure.
Okay.
Guys, if you allow me, I gotta leave earlier, but thank you very much for everyone sharing these things. Very useful. Thomas, thank you. Anybody has a question from me?
Yeah, what you got like another way to reach you, or is this just a most like? Are you a pretty busy dude?
No. You have my ID on a Facebook group, so we could like connect. If you have any interesting hands.
All right, cool. I'll message you on there because I don't go on.
Yes.
I don't really go on Facebook that much, but I'll message you.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day and night, people.
All right. Thanks a lot, Thomas.
Thank you.
Okay, so so how are we feeling? We've been about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to keep going and talk about some more hands from homework?
What about one of those hands that were posted? I think one was like a 5-5 hand, and one was
Oh, it's my hand.
Yeah, there was two of them. That was hand 1, and then there was a second hand where he had jacks in a 4-bet pot. He had jacks out of position on like a queen 10.
That's I think the jacks hand, I'm too spewy. I need at least a jacks of spades.
Like I want to talk to Thomas about this because I used GTO plus like just the sample flop out of position, and I used wide ranges, blind versus blind, and with like a 1.5 SPR, or I think it was like a 1.7 or 8 SPR in your hand number 2 example. But it showed that we like to just shove half of our range for like a 1.5x on the flop. And I was wondering, Thomas, like if we would go that route or make a quarter pot bet. It was a 4-bet pot. The equities ran close. I ran the.
You talk about my hand, right?
Yeah, the jacks hand.
Yeah, so my hand, so my hand under the gun versus cutoff is C-bet is very standard.
Well, you were high.
In my opinion.
Was it under the gun or was it hijack?
It's It's under the gun for 6 max. I don't know what you call. So under the gun for 6 max. So under the gun versus cutoff.
Yeah,
I think
and
it's
then
very
it's
sad.
like yeah, and the SPR is like under 2. Like it's a small SP, a little smaller than normal SPR for a 4-bet pot. It's like a little smaller than
I just
normal.
bet. I just bet.
I feel in this hand
25% more range.
you can do it with a spade, but then like without a spade, maybe just check fold.
Yeah. That'd be too speedy.
Now, what do you mean do it with the spade? You mean shove?
Yeah, you can take the line with
Okay,
the
yeah,
jack of
'cause-
spades.
Okay, yeah,
jack of spades.
Yeah, because I noticed that it seems like half of our. Yeah, because now how do we go about for that hand? Because we have ace queen. No, do we have? No, we don't have ace queen. We have a.
Okay,
was it
wait.
queen high board?
Okay, so
Okay, wait.
whose
Okay,
hand
wait.
is it? Whose hand is it? And did you?
It's mine. It's mine. It's
okay,
mine.
So do you want to share
Okay,
your
so
screen? You can talk about it.
actually, I'm in.
Oh,
I'm
you
in
can
my.
post that. You can post that first one if you want, because I think you should have folded the flop, the monotone board.
No, it's easy defend. You have pocket fives. Oh wait. Okay, wait. Are you talking about the jack hand first
Yeah,
or
the
the
big-
pocket fives first?
Let's go both of them. Do the pocket fives first, because I think
Okay.
when the big blind 3-bets you, the big blind's range is pretty strong, and it's a king queen flop.
This is against what, the 30% pot size bet. It's easy call. You have any pair, you call.
I mean, because we got ace queen off, we have kings.
How about
Let's do.
one of us? How about you show the hand so everyone can see it. Remember, it's being recorded, so people at home will want to see the hands. We're talking about a hand that no one's seen yet.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at the screen. Sorry, I'm like doing. I'm sorry.
All right. So how about yeah? So how about you share your screen, and then
Let me find the hand first.
Yeah.
I forgot where they post the hand. Hand one. Oh, it's hand one, right? Yeah.
Hey, Thomas.
You see my screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so we open MP. This is close. This is close. Sorry.
That's a call. That's a call. I mean, it's the fives. That's one of the smallest pairs you're opening.
Five is the smallest pair I would.
Yeah, that's.
This is MP versus big blind, right? Do you see my?
Yeah, and you're 2.5. What are you? 2.5.
This is my MP versus big blind range. So 5 is the lowest pair I go. You guys see my screen, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so 5 is the lowest hand I have. That's my MP versus big blind range. Okay. Okay, fuck. Okay. Okay, so we defend. We defend this standard, right? I mean, like the deeper the stacks is, the more we should call with this pair. And then on the flop, he bets super small. He bet like 30%.
Okay, yeah, that's a little under third pot. So
yeah, this is like
you're behind a lot though on the flop. Like
this is a slam dunk call. I mean, like I don't know, because like I work with Pio a lot, and Pio like to turn this weakest hand that we have into a bluff.
Yeah, or a bluff. That's what I was just thinking. Either a bluff. I think it's a fold. I mean, that's just
you never
it's
fold.
just like never a fold. Just like you can never fold this against this size. Any diamond you have.
Yeah, I think you have to call any diamond at this stage.
Yeah, 6 of diamonds. Yeah, you got the 6 of diamonds, 7s, 9s. I mean, you got 10 jack. You have a set of kings. You have a set of queens. You have jacks. Well, no, jacks.
It's about the size that he bets.
Yeah, I know. We should be. I know we should be. Yeah, we should be calling. Yeah, we should be calling 75% of our range against a 1/3 pot bet. I know that, but our equity is we're behind like probably 25-30% equity on this board. Like the big blind's 3-betting us. Aren't we behind a shit ton on the flop? Like we should still fold. Like we should be folding probably 30% more of our range. That's just what I'm saying. It's a king queen high board and the big blind 3-bet.
Not really if you're in position. In position, so you can't really overfold unless there's like a ridiculous range advantage, and I don't think you have that here.
Okay, I hear you. So if they're just going jacks plus ace king with like just a few bluffs, not even.
Well, like pre-flop.
Yeah, like if they're just 3-betting jacks plus ace king, and then
Okay,
like
well,
maybe
that's just if they're doing that, you should fold as pre, right? I don't know.
well, I mean if they have a few bluffs though. I mean if they have like jacks, ace king, and some suited connectors, maybe like an ace five or like a wheel or something like. That's what I was thinking. That's just why I thought it would be that, because I thought the pre-flop range would be too strong. But I mean, yeah, I guess definitely. Yeah, I mean, I just thought the pre-flop range would be really strong.
How did you make these pre-flop ranges?
Me, right? So I watch your Zenith, and I use Educa, and I use I use some of my friends' range, and I combine the three. And I have to make sure that I'm folding. I'm not folding too much, because before I do this range, I fold too much to 3-bets. So this is the range that I create. That
can I see the range again? Can you put it up again? It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a really small bet. I thought it was definitely a little bigger, but yeah, that's not even a third pot.
Yeah, it seems
I want to be able to
seems
like.
Okay.
Seems fine, right? Standard, right?
It seems okay. Yeah. I mean, like I don't know exactly what you're opening, but like if you, it's one of the weird things, like because you're not always opening the low pocket pairs, like you have to always call them.
I'm opening here. That's my MP range.
Okay, right. So you're not always opening. Like if you change like the low pocket pairs to like sometimes, then like you can always call them, because like the density of those sets is low but still enough to do some damage post flop, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Also, I think you should try and throw in some more suited kings, even though Snowy doesn't like them. They're pretty good pre-flop.
Okay, wait.
Thomas.
So I'm asking you
Anyway.
like general question, right? So
sorry, we should probably focus on the hand instead of talking about
I mean like
because I've got a bunch of pre-flop ranges. Everyone's got some pre-flop ranges to use.
If we are our position, right? In general, how much should we fold to a 3-bet? What's the percentage? 55?
Well, it just depends on the. It just depends on the
It
map.
depends on the size, but usually it's around 50.
3.2x. That's the standard size.
Yeah, then you can probably go 55. Yeah.
But then IP, we have to defend a lot more, like here, right?
Yeah, you'd be calling wider.
Okay.
Hey, Thomas, on the flop, you were talking about how making sure not to fold too much, even if we're behind a lot of equity. Just because we have position, or what was you saying before? Like we changed.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like you can flat some very strong hands here to value bet if they check on the next street, and so you can float.
And you can bluff them.
The old school way of saying it's called floating, right? So you should and can be floating in position in order to prevent your opponent's bluffs from being plus EV. Because remember, if they check like a really weak hand and then you bet.
What if they have like
Sorry, if they check a hand with the intention of folding, then that hand is 0 EV. Because any worse hand, or really close to 0 EV, because any worse hand is going to bet.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so the pre-flop is standard, flop is standard, right? The turn is not so standard. The turn is the turn is the most difficult decision. So he check, and I bet. I think this is the.
Yeah,
I think the size is too big. The size is way too big.
It feels too big. You don't really have to.
Well, I think it's too big.
So big. Like if you just want to fold, you want a combination of folding out like the equity of some like ace jack, ace 10 type hands.
So on the turn, how many size do we have?
Could you go 17? Can you go small 17 here?
Sorry, I mean like okay, go step by step, right? So on the turn, normally I'm gonna have 33% size. I'm gonna have like.
What's his checking range? I mean,
why can't you have like a 1/8 pot size? Like,
or that? I mean, hey, that's because I would go quarter pot here. I would bet like 17 here probably, or like 50. Yeah, I would bet like 17 here in practice in real time.
I mean, like I don't know. I mean,
That
like
quarter pot. See that
when I-
1/8 pot shit, man.
when
You're
I-
on another level.
When I-
I'll show you when.
No,
when
no,
we
no.
go
I mean,
through-
like when I play against a player pool that like to bet small turn for a sheep showdown, I punish them a
But
lot.
how do you know that? Like, do you have that night vision thing or something? Like how do you know like the player pulls like this is the turn? Like, how do you have that many samples? Like, how do you know that?
What do you mean?
we just play all the
'cause you-
hands, right? So
Because you
Oh,
said
oh!
said
I
the
mean, like
player-
okay,
that the
it's-
player pull.
it's just experience. It's just like if I play with you in live and you and I always see you, you call my flop C bet and you always stab turn and you always snap check river like every time you just do this all the time with like pocket 4, pocket 5s, pocket 6s.
I mean, that's a lot, but that's. I
Then
mean, I
I'm
hear
gonna
you.
check
You're
raise.
right.
Then
Yeah, you're right.
then
You're definitely right.
I'm gonna check raise you with like some air hands. I'm gonna
Yeah.
punish you.
I just never. It's just I don't play enough to be seeing too many turn and river samples. Like my player pool like online, it'll take me like 40,000 hands to get like 3 or 4,000 hands on a player. Like I get 1,000 hands for every like 10,000 hands I play on a regular. So like I hear you. It's just my sample sizes on the turns and rivers.
Okay,
are
wait.
small.
Thomas, I think if okay, let's say we assume right, I have 3 sides, right? I think this pocket 5's hand would be a mix between all the line. It's just sometimes they bet small, sometimes they bet half, sometimes they bet
back.
mono pot, right?
Go back to that 1/8 pot bet. Like talk about that
I
1/8.
feel like this one would be smaller, like because if you're betting big, you can't. Like how many flushes do you have, and like you're blocking a flush. So which flushes are you blocking? You're blocking 6-5, 5-4.
So yeah, we can do this. So wait, so
Ace 5. I mean, ace 5 suited maybe 3 bets.
Yeah, side, yeah,
when I bet the river, I'm gonna have like okay, I'm gonna have aces with a diamond, maybe like 1 of 3 combos, kings and queens.
Oh wait,
I mean,
are you flatting aces pre?
Yeah, sometimes. So
Okay.
I will have so let's say like so this means like I will flat 33% and then I full bet like the rest.
Okay.
So
it
kings-
seems like you're flatting aces a lot there.
You're flatting 33% of the time pre-flop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like it should not
That's
be
like
anywhere
way
near that
too
high.
much.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
think
kings and
you're flatting
kings
too
and
much.
queens and ace king
Kings-
offsuit. You can have ace king off, but aces. I mean,
Kings
me
and
personally,
queens
I
in
wouldn't-
here. So
Yeah.
kings is total of 3 combos. I probably have like 1. I normally full bet kings, and then I normally flat aces and queens.
This goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You can't really do it against a 3-bet because there's too much stack depth behind. Like, you really need to get the value when you have aces against a 3-bet. But against a 4-bet, that's when you can start flatting aces because the SPR is so low. You can just like jam it against over any bet on the flop.
Yeah, in
Like,
game, I did accept that I flat too many aces in
Okay,
position.
all right. Let's
against the
just say that you flat too many aces, and then the other guy also knows that you flat too many aces, and so he's run the sim against you. So,
Probably he
right.
doesn't know. Probably he doesn't know.
Oh man, this could go too going down the hole.
I mean, I think I have
You have
so many battles here.
Yeah, you got 6 of them. Yeah. How many is that? 3. Yeah.
Oh, 6 with a diamond, so only 2.
Yeah, 2.
And then what else? Ace king, ace of diamond, king X. So maybe 2 combos.
Yeah, okay, but like, how many sides are you having on the river, right? So surely you're going to shovel your boats. What's it only
Actually,
2x?
I should, but I think in game I wouldn't do it. GTO wise, I should,
Yeah. Okay.
but in game I just feel like I'm
Man,
too
you gotta
exploitable
go
at
for
this
ma-
spot.
You got
go for max value
king,
with the
queen.
boats.
Yeah. I mean, like whenever you have full house and if you run the same, it just always 2 pot, 3 pot on the river.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
And then probably flashes I have. So flashes I have what? Oh, fuck. So I have ace 10. Ace 10, ace jack, right? Ace 10, ace jack. of diamonds. Ace 10,
You
ace
don't-
jack of diamond.
You don't have ace 4 or like
No,
ace
that's
9 or...
that's a 4-bet. That's a 4-bet. I'm gonna have.
Hit
I probably
7,
have.
you got the
I
7
probably have.
6, 10 9.
I probably have 4 flushes here. Ace jack, ace 10, jack 10, 10 9, 7 8. Let's say so 5 flush. So I have
I don't think
5
you can have
combos
7 8.
flush, right?
I don't think you can have 7 8.
Oh,
10 jack. You got 10 jack of diamond. Jack. You got jack 9.
You can have 7 6.
yeah. I'm folding the rest.
Yeah, you got jack 9 of diamonds. Jack 9 is not in your range.
I'm
man. Where's-
folding that. I'm folding that.
Damn,
Yeah.
where's the jack 9 love in position?
1,
Let's see
2,
the
3,
jack
4,
nine.
5. Okay, so I have 5 flushes. Right? 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 10, 15. So 15. And then I'm betting 70% of the pot. So it means I probably bluff like
About like 5 or 6. Yeah, about
Yeah.
no 7.
I
Man.
think this is the best bluff, man. I mean, I don't know. I think if I don't bluff 5s, I don't have any hands to bluff at this spot. It just I can't think of any worse hand.
Do
I
you,
have.
do you have any offsuit? No, you don't. You don't have much offsuit stuff.
No, but the thing, no,
yeah, okay,
Thomas, but,
yeah. I can definitely get behind this bluff.
but the thing
because-
is like, if you don't know my range, right, or if my range is wrong, then all my assumption is wrong.
Well, I mean, but if you're using ranges that are like
No,
more
like-
theoretically sound, that's fine because I mean, people play preflop horribly. So if like what we're doing here, like most people you play aren't doing this stuff.
I mean, like the point of what we're doing here with the combo analysis is just to like try and make sure that you're sort of balanced when you bet this size in this river. I mean, like you definitely should have some jams with the boats and then like boat blockers or whatever, or like flush blockers, because I guess it's only a flush that you're worried about.
So on the turn, Thomas, like how many sides would you have?
I
You
don't
would
know.
have,
I like with 3-bet and 4-bet pots because the ranges are so narrow and the SPR is low. I just use as many sizes as I can fit. So if I really wanted to analyze a spot,
This is my standard
if
size.
I really wanted to analyze a spot, I can go 5 sizes because that's the number of sizes you can have in GTO plus.
Yeah.
So it has playing 5 sizes and then a check, right? And then like I just get really nerdy with it for like 3 hours. So after the sim runs for 4 hours or whatever, then I get nerdy with it, and then just have a look at all the lines and be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I can bet quarter pot here. I can bet 1/8 pot here, and then like,
two in the mix.
and then the guy donks, and then because you sort of have to know how to play against these non-standard lines, like what happens if they call and then like they donk a tiny amount, right?
Yeah.
It's important to know when you're
How do
playing
you
against
feel,
very strong players, I think.
Does it have you flatten a lot, like even versus the small donks on the turn? Well, I guess it depends on a lot of shit like boards and stuff, but because I see myself flatten most of the time against turn leads.
Depends how big the donk is, but like you kind of have to fold.
Well, yeah,
enough.
more than you should.
You have
Well,
to
not
fold
more than you
enough
should, but-
so that.
Yeah, you talked about
like,
that. I
it's
remember you
not-
talked
it's not
about that
just
in your
purely
last video.
minus EV to like call a flop and then donk the turn, right? You can't fold so much that is plus EV to do that, but you can't fold too little that it's too minus EV to do that. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It should be close to 0 EV to do that. To float the turn, so float the flop out of position just to donk the turn very small.
And you talk about it in a pair board spot, like let's say the board comes like 8-5, like this, and then on the turn it's like the 6 or 3, like this. Big blind versus button. Like you check call float the flop with like 7-8, right? Or like 10-9, and then you just donk the turn very small, like 25% with your full range. Are you talking about this?
No, you definitely shouldn't do it with your full range.
Oh,
What I'm saying is like on stuff like that, you should know how to face the donk, because Like you should be running sims with the donk bets because it doesn't really impact like the EV like at the start, but it does impact the EV of hands later on, right? So you should know how to play those hands later on. Like if you never run sims with donk bets, then like you don't learn how to play against donk bets, and you don't learn how to donk bet yourself. And against players that do know how to donk bet, you're gonna have trouble. And if you do learn how to donk bet, you can start donk betting into players that don't know how to respond against donk bets, and so then you win EV against their mistakes because they haven't studied it.
That's my standard. So I have the donk size.
Yeah, okay.
No, but I mean, like, are you specifically talk about like this sport or just in general?
Oh,
I feel like
I'm talking about in general. I'm not talking about this specific board.
right. I just feel like I mean, like when I play live, when I play like 10-20 or 20-40, right? Even if the best reg at that level, they are not balanced yet. So if I have like ace king or king queen, I'm raising the turn a lot in this spot as an IP, but it can be too imbalanced. I don't know. So let's say I open ace king and then big
Yeah,
blind
that's your
defend.
read. Like that's yeah, you could justify anything. Like like if you're talking exploitive, I mean, yeah, you could
Yeah.
justify anything.
No, but I think like, I mean, GTO, it just, I mean, I just want to try to simplify everything as simple as possible. Like, it's very hard to play the donk range. That's, I mean, like, in theory, it's better to have a donk than don't have a donk, but it just, for me, it's very hard.
If you looked at the OTS last time when we were talking about
All right.
equity analysis, the donk bets do become quite a bit more important in like 3-bet, 4-bet pots. Not specifically like deep ones, but as the SPR gets low, donking becomes a thing.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Because it ends up being like one of these tools the opposition player has to take advantage of any sort of mistake
Okay.
that the imposition player has made. All right, so
Okay.
was that enough for that hand? I'm pretty sure we covered that hand pretty well. Let's go to who else we got. We can talk about Caton's hand.
Oh yeah, we can do that.
We've got a couple of people left. Yeah, Caton, do you want to share your screen and talk about what your thought process was?
Sure, but so I'm on my Mac right now, and my solver is on my PC. So I can like do the camera and then point at the PC if you want to do that. If you want to do that.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, yeah, up to you.
Okay. So just 1 second. So do you see that pretty well?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a Queen 7-3 rainbow. I 3-bet in the button against the low jack, I think. So this is the
Queen 7-3 rainbow. We 3-bet the button against. Okay.
Yeah, and then this is the range I gave for the low jack. Yeah, maybe it could be looser, like tighter. I don't know. This is like kind of standard in my opinion. And this is my 3 range. This is like exactly like pretty much exactly the Zenith range.
Okay.
Pocket pairs, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then he checks. I didn't give any donking ranges. I don't think there would be a donking range anyways, even if I give him one. And I choose the half pot bet sizing. So when I give it 2 sizes, it prefers the 1/3, and I can probably bet 1/3 my whole range because he plays pretty aggressive against it. Like he's also call 4, 5, 6s, raises,
Yeah.
king 10, king 6, all that stuff. So I could probably just 1/3 my whole range. I don't really know why I picked the half. Like I don't think it matters that much. I did a no lock. I did a sim with only the half pot sizing here, and I think the EVs are pretty similar, but you just bet less.
Yeah.
But also he would play pretty aggressive against this as well. Like he raises 18% against this, so maybe I could also bet my whole range against with this half size. But I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, because he has like raises like 7-6, 8-7, all that stuff. Like if he does that, he's pretty damn good. But so anyways, I bet my ace 10 is always bet anyways, even if I don't bet it all the time. It's pretty often. He calls the turn to 10 of hearts.
Why
So
it's
it's pretty
blurry?
interesting.
Why does it look so blurry on my screen? It should look blurry on my screen.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah,
I see
maybe
some-
bring the camera a
I see
little
your
bit closer.
hair.
Okay,
I see your
one second.
screen.
Yeah, zoom in a bit more. Zoom in a bit more. Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
works. Okay, so
Okay.
let's take it from the top. So the hand went. So let's just this is. Do you have the hand history,
I
or
do.
just talk through the hand history?
It was a Queen 7-3. I 3-bet from the button against the low jack open, and he called. So
Okay,
it's
so and then it's Queen 7 rainbow.
a Queen 7-3 rainbow. He checks. I don't think there would be donking range anyways. I'm pretty sure.
Can't you see bet your whole entire range there?
I probably could. I probably
You
could, but
you in position?
yeah. I
Yeah.
probably could because he's
Queen
supposed to raise
7-3.
yeah,
Dry.
he's supposed to raise 18%, right? Which is like pretty tough in my opinion. Like I wouldn't have this frequency in my I wouldn't.
Like
But
Thomas,
it just-
would you think about a third pot C bet for like your whole range?
Oh, yo, you could.
I mean, because Caden was the first one to post his hand history, I ran a sim on it.
Yeah, you could.
I'll show you my sim after Caden's done with his.
But just to show you, like I did run the sim with the 1/3 sizing, and it's already 80%, even if he plays GTO against it. And it's pretty. I think it's pretty safe to say like he's not going to do this. So you can probably see about your 1/3 your whole range like very easily, in my opinion. I don't know why I put the 1/2.
So 9s, 10, 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, and pairs, checking back.
So he's
Oh
supposed
yeah,
to-
those make perfect. Yeah, those make perfect sense.
He's supposed to like raise his King 10 suited, all that stuff. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he does, but I don't know. Okay.
With
Anyway,
a
come
backdoor flush
From
draw.
a
Yeah.
4-bet, right?
Yeah. But anyways, I went the half pie sizing. I don't really know why. I think I just got more frolic. I don't know. But then the turn's a 10 of hearts, and it's pretty interesting because his flop
So-
call is like
There's
Yeah.
a flush draw on the turn, right?
yes,
no?
there is. Yes. Yeah, there is.
Okay.
There's.
Okay.
So it's very interesting because his calling range on the flop is very, very tight, right? Like he only like it's 30%. So it's like very tight. So actually on the 10 of hearts, I think he has the advantage here because he has a tighter range. So he actually leads like 1/3, like half the time, if he's GTO, obviously. So this is pretty surprising. I saw this once before, but I forgot about it. I don't think he would do this, but
The queen is a heart or no?
Queen's a diamond.
Okay, so
Sorry, I can here. I can put
the
the
queen
board
is a
on.
diamond, so he has more like king queen suited than if the queen is a heart.
One second. I can.
Right, I'll show you guys the sim that I run. I'll show you the ranges. So let me share it, and then Caden, if you want to
Oh sure, yeah. We can,
just talk about any differences that you saw.
Okay.
So I ran a pretty extensive sim, not like super big, but big enough. So this is the out of position range. This is the in position range. Right, like that. So out of position checks everything. I did that as well. I ran another sim here.
What program is this?
This is GTO plus. It's like ends up being like cheaper and easier to use than Pi solver. So I just use this anyway. So this sim I put like a shit ton of bet sizes in, and here about 1/8, 1/4, 1/2 pot, and then all in, and it bets like for these pre-flop ranges over 90% of the time for some sites, right? And like here they've got the quarter pot as most often, and then it's somewhere between sort of like quarter pot and pot. So if you wanted a quarter pot and half pot, so if you wanted to pick one size, then it's probably got to be like 1/3 pot, right?
Yeah.
But you can also like do 1/8 pot and then like watch them squirm because they have to defend a lot. Anyway, so your half pot, yeah, okay. So half pot, did you see them also overfolding? Like they have got a fold frequency of 50%.
When I only get the half pot sizing, he folded 49.2. So
yeah, so same sort of thing. You can see they're folding a lot. And now on the 10, they're not leading as much as you had. I've got here a half pot lead and quarter pot lead. And those are like 15% of the time. But let's just say they check, right? And now it's on us. The 10, the S10 checks back, which is what you did.
I checked it, yeah.
Right, and then what was the river again?
River is like 4 of diamonds.
and then they check again. So here,
What do you have? What do we have?
you got ace 10 of spades or something, right?
Yeah, ace 10 suited.
Anyway, so here's the, so they're just going to lead some stuff. Sometimes they just overbet jam for like twice the pot, which is reasonable with like sevens. What do they have for the overbet jam range?
Yeah, like 10 sevens, all that stuff. Yeah. And the straight as well.
Straights and sets and stuff.
I think ace queen's a bluff there, right? Like ace queen, king queen actually a bluff there for the jam.
You sure?
I think it might be the ace queen and the king.
Is ace king queen's got not like 80%, 90%.
Oh, okay.
Equity. So like if you wanted to, if you can see the color difference between the, especially on the river, right? Because it's not so merged. Like you can see the difference between. Anyway. So they check, and then the question was whether or not you should bet ace 10. And for some reason, ace 10 of spades is the only one that is bet and at any frequency. And I'm pretty sure it's got to do with with backdoor flush draw type stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So in game I checked it back, but I wasn't like entirely sure. Because I don't think like he checked like 3 times. So
I probably wouldn't fold it for you, because. If I look at this sim, which is a little bit simpler, right? You go half. They call.
Yeah, it's more.
You see, you got more leads because, which is interesting.
Because his range is.
I think this is because I have different raise sizes. For the other sim, I used like, for this one I used 50%, 100% as a raise sizes. For the other sim, I used 2x and 4x. And so having the smaller raise sizes, I think makes it a bit more accurate, because just click raising it up is GTO when the stack sizes are really short.
Okay.
Anyway, so they're leading half the time. But anyway, check.
And 4 diamonds.
4 diamonds, and then like check again, and then it's still bet. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could have.
That's
half pot thin.
On mine, I don't think I got a bet for some reason. Even though I still have like
maybe because the preflop ranges are different. You can see like where it is. It's like on the bottom of your value betting range. So like, it is a pretty thin bet at that stage. So I guess it's got to be a combination of like what preflop ranges each player has, and then how each player is going to play their own version of their tree. Right.
Oh, but this is assuming he actually. Oh, I remember now. This is assuming he has a donking range on the turn, which is like.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If they're not donking as much, then you could probably.
I have a save with the no lock if you want to see it.
Yep.
Just 1 second. Well, actually, I don't think it takes. It doesn't take that long to do. 1 second.
Hey, Thomas.
Yep.
Hey, I remember regarding the this is off topic, but like hopefully it's just a short answer, but about overbetting those like small over pairs like 10s and jacks on that 9 high dry. Was that frequency was that like a low frequency or something that's like should definitely be in the game? Like overbet.
Let me pull it up. And I'll have a video on rag flops soon. It's just that I have to finish connected boards, and then rag flops is like 60% of the remaining flops, right? So then like there's a lot of like sub sims you can run. Anyway, so I'll show you. So this is totally off topic, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this is the blind versus big blind again. So check. This is on like a 9-4-2, and you can see that the pocket 10s is overbet.
Oh wait, is this blind versus blind you said, or button?
No, this is button versus big blind.
Oh, okay.
Where we min raise and then they overbet. So this is 9-4-2, and we can see it on maybe we can see on this one. No, we can't. What does the flop top have to be? It has to be sort of drawy, in that a whole bunch of straights can happen. Here, tens is just pot.
Okay, so it's without flush draws, boards without flush draws, or it's
yeah,
on
it's usually
quite a
without flush draws. So here, for example, on the Jack 10-6, rainbow, queens is overbet, kings is overbet, aces is overbet. Right, it's on these rainbow boards which
where you want to deny like a decent amount
are sort of
equity.
drawy. Right, there's a whole bunch of
Yeah.
possible straight draws. So if you overbet, like all the straight draws have to like puke fold. Right, so then you're not worrying too much about straights happening on,
Wait,
on
if
the
you
turn.
overbet, which straights are calling? If you overbet like none of them?
Well, the
I see,
other
okay, yeah, I
cards,
see them,
the
I
other
see.
cards are, but the other ones aren't. So like,
Okay, I see. Yeah,
like all these
you're
gut shots are just folding. So then you fold all the gut shots. So you don't have to worry about a gut shot coming in when you have aces, or like.
I was about to blame your accent, but it's cool. All right.
This one.
I got you. How is it in the land down under?
It's cold right now, but cold for an Australian is probably not
Cold.
for you.
Yeah. What's cold for you? 63.
It's like 20 something Fahrenheit, 20 something Celsius. I don't know what that's.
Yes,
Fahrenheit.
You're just on a whole different thing that made different temperature, different time, different everything.
Different.
Shit.
Yeah, so here, for example, on like King 9-5, right? Because there's a whole bunch of straight draws in between the King and the 9 and between the 9 and the 5. We're overbetting aces and like ace king some of the time.
Okay.
Right,
What
10%.
do you have any the 10x or lowers? Is it can because that 9-4 wasn't connected, but do you have some like 10-8s, 10-7s, 9-7s, or no? Because is that just too?
I ran these a long time ago, so I don't have as
Okay.
I'm gonna have to redo these and then like.
Got you. Hey, back to that hand where he was doing the nods. That ace 10 suited, those checkbacks with the backdoor flush draw. Was that for the third pot? What bet size? Or was that against a check? Well, the pre-flop raiser checked, and then were those checkbacks against the half pot range with the ace 10?
I didn't have a backdoor flush draw. It was just a naked ace 10, and I checked it back. Yeah.
Because I remember seeing some ace 10 with the backdoor flush draw was being checked back as well, wasn't it?
Well, actually, with the node lock, if like it's not that bad of an assumption to say he's not going to lead this turn. So if I make him never bet the turn, I'm not supposed to bet anything on a turn. Like me, the button. You don't bet aces, kings, queens. You don't bet any of that stuff. So you just check everything because his range is actually pretty strong here. It's pretty tight, right? So you can't really bet anything.
Well, are we talking about the flop still? I'm talking about. I was talking about the flop.
Oh, the flop, yeah, you just bet everything. The flop, you just bet everything.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I remember, but you were talking about if he doesn't lead, that was regarding the ace 10.
Yeah, because on the 10, I think he's gonna hit a set like.
So that's exploitive. So that's exploitive shit you're talking about.
Well, yeah, it's exploited, but like it's pretty. Like I think it's pretty reasonable. Like I would would you ever think to lead a 10 here, like as a caller? Like I don't think so, right?
Oh, out of position.
Yeah. Like you just check called the flop as a 3-bet caller, right? Like I don't think it's pretty.
Yeah, in practice, I probably would never lead there.
So actually, if you never lead, Bud's never supposed to bet. Like you can't even bet aces, kings. You can't bet anything.
That's ridiculous.
So that goes into like why it's important to have these donks in like 4-bet pots.
Yeah, I have to learn that.
Yeah, because you're calling pretty tight on the flop.
This right here is crazy because in practice, I don't think anyone like
this is pretty shocking for me too. Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I would definitely go broke with aces and kings and ace queen here, like for sure. And obviously this, but like,
So that's so interesting. So Tom, it's like, is there like, I mean, you kind of been talking about it here and there, but is there like a few sentences to why like so it is GTO of course when they call this 3-bet and then the turn comes to 10 for them to have a donk range, right?
Yeah, it's quite often in 3-bet and 4-bet pots when the SPR is low.
Now this has nothing to do with like
donks on a lot of different
equity. Like that's nothing to do with the equity advantage.
It's all like just because the bluffs miss, right? So your bluffs are going to be like ace high, king high here, right? So it's just as long as it's not an ace or a king, you're going to have some donking, right?
Okay,
Because
I see.
you want
Because you
because the SPR is low, you want to deny that like 12% or whatever equity they have to check back a 2 overcard type hand. So that's part of it.
so a 2 overcard. So the 2 overcards are all straights, basically, right?
No, like here on. Oh yeah, well, there's also a straight on a 10, but say for example, it's like 10-6 deuce or something, right? And so you check, they bet, and then the turn is like a brick, undercard to the 10. All their overcards missed, so we can have some donks to prevent all of their overcards from checking back all the time. So then,
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
the idea of them betting on the flop.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And what about but on that 10 turn on the queen high board, what overcards missed?
Everything you're betting your
Ace king,
right? Ace king, king jack, all that stuff.
Oh, miss. Okay, I mean, yeah, technically, yeah, they did miss.
Your ace highs.
Okay.
Ace highs, yeah, your ace
Okay,
highs.
yeah, they
there's
did
so many
miss.
ace highs.
Okay.
Like on any ace, they'd never donk, right? Because there's so many ace x hands. But which are the draws on the flop, right? So like a lot of people don't think of overcard hands as draws, but you should be thinking of overcard hands as draws because you have like 3 outs or 6 outs or whatever to improve.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. Okay, yeah, I'm just writing this down because this shit's important.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't block their. So basically, you're not blocking their check back range. Neither, like obviously, you don't want to block their check back range. That's why you don't do it with. That's just like when like on the paired boards when we had trips with the 8th kicker, we check raised it on the turn after they check back because we blocked their check back, so they're more likely to bet.
So this is on the paired boards. Okay, so on the low paired boards, when the big blind goes check, bet, and then the ace comes, and the hands that the trips that we don't overbet are the ones just below the ace. So like we don't overbet as often the king trips because it blocks king x if we check back. But
those would be the check raises though, right?
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's
because a check raise is going to be more successful if you block their checks, right? So if you block their checks, they're more likely to bet, and so
exactly.
a check raise is going to win.
Yeah, this stuff's just hard. It's just because in real time, it's like I mean, this is easier said than done, obviously, but it's like, yeah, like this shit sounds like it's. I mean, you're saying it like it's just nothing. Like this is like 5th grade math to you, but like in practice, trying to incorporate this shit, like and like when you're playing multiple tables, it's definitely like you got to fucking repeat. Like you got to go over shit so many times. Like for example, that monotone flop with the 5s. Yeah, that's definitely a call on the flop. I seen it, but like I just did some little quick calculations and like that's definitely one of our weakest calls in our range though, those 5s with the diamonds.
Yeah, but you need a call to prevent them from properly bluffing, and when they check, you can bluff, and they just overfold.
Yeah, that's definitely a call. Like it's just because when I was looking at the hand, I was thinking because 5's okay, that's our lowest pocket pair. And then we're flat in so many other strong hands, but that's such a small bet though. We have to if that was like a 40% pot bet or half pot bet, do you like don't even think about like raising the 5s there. Would you think about folding them there versus like a 40 plus? Or is this still a no?
I still think you got to continue with all your 1 diamond hands. Just because
just for the run out, just for the to be able to bluff on later streets and all that shit.
Yeah, but sort of. Also because they just have a lot of equity, draw equity against.
So you definitely, okay, that makes sense. So that hand's better. That hand would have more equity than like 10 jack with a backdoor flush draw. You think?
Sorry, isn't it a monotone board? How can I have a backdoor?
Oh yeah, monotone. Yeah, what I'm talking about. So yeah, that obviously that definitely has more equity than all the straights. Okay, then a few flushes. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there, if you fold, if I was a flush draw, like
No, that's too. It's too light. It's too tight. Yeah, for sure. I'm just thinking because, like, in real game, like when you're playing 4+ tables, like, I mean, of course, like I only played like 300,000 hands, so like this shit, like, I'm just trying to when I play in real time, like I'm just trying to know that I can make that call. You know what I mean? Like it's easier to be like, okay, this and that, and then you run a sweat session, and then you don't do none of the shit you're talking about. Like I don't like doing that.
yeah, I think you just think about like on that monotone board, if you have fives of a diamond, if he has like aces no diamond, you have like 40% equity or something.
Yeah, and it's just such a small bet. I mean, it is
There's
kind
no
of
way,
ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous to think about folding it because you could bluff raise or something. Like you could think about bluff raising there.
Yeah, and just like you have 40% against like a overpair, right?
Yeah, for sure. But those are like the little small things, like, because yeah, that's definitely better than 10 jack. Then you still have nines, but yeah, so you would definitely rather have fives than nines without a diamond. Like you definitely for sure, and then
Well, then
tens.
if you have nines, like you have like 50% equity against like a two overcards with a diamond or something, right?
Yeah, but hey, Thomas, you think it's too unrealistic for that big blind against that 2.5x to only go jacks plus ace king and like maybe a random bluff? Like, do you think that's too unrealistic? Or
Well, yeah, if you're up against that kind of range, you should be folding like a shit ton against that 3-bet.
yeah, because the equity period. But okay, yeah, because I was just thinking because my default 3-bet range against a 2.5x from the big blinds, I think jacks, ace, king. Then I have some suited connectors, suited aces, and then sometimes I go like ace, jack suited, ace 10 suited, king jack suited, like that.
You can probably try something in between the two ranges that I have up against
Yeah,
the
that's what
versus.
that's what I try to do because I was using upswings ranges like that was like over a year ago, but I stopped using. Yeah, I stopped using like most of their ranges. Like they're not bad ranges, but like I think if you're playing mid stakes or higher, like those ranges, I only think upswings ranges are good up to like 100 now. Like my opinion from playing.
Yeah, they're okay.
I don't know if you
Yeah,
use.
it seems like you're going to have a hard time moving up stakes if you use those ranges for too long.
Yeah. Because when I got to, it was perfect timing because when I was taking shots at mid stakes, I came across your ranges a few months ago, and I started using them for 200 now, 400 now, and it was rough the first like 10, 12,000 hands, but after that, yeah, it was like I was winning a little bit after like 30, 40,000. But I mean, that's a small sample. That don't really mean much.
Yeah, after you get used to playing 3-bet or fold against
I
some
like
of them,
it. Yeah, I like it.
yeah, you get way better at 3-bet pots than the guy that you're facing because then
And that's
not
really
playing as
that's
many
really
3-bet
important.
pots.
That's really important. And then it's also like you save some mental energy from not having to worry about like your flatten range and then all like that's just a whole extra range you have to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot less study you have to do, worried about flattening the RFI and then playing that if you're just 3-betting it.
But yeah, so are you probably within the next, I guess like before August, do you think you'll have some versus Forex?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I had like really old versus Forex, but I have to make some new ones.
Yeah, because where I'm at, are you familiar with anywhere in the US or like you come over here sometimes?
I'm pretty sure live in most places is pretty. You use like ridiculous sizes and stuff. I've played live before and it's just ridiculous. Doing Forex and stuff.
Yeah, but so basically, tighten up a lot. Do you say 3.5x? Is it okay to, I mean, not tighten up too much from your charts versus like a 3.5x?
3.5x isn't that much different to versus a 3x.
Yeah, but yeah, four is a
you should be probably folding all the optional calls.
Yeah.
At least, and then think about folding some of the mandatory calls.
So because in position, like I still like 3-bet.
It's one of those things where like the bigger the size, and you're in the big one, of course. The bigger the size, the less you call, the more you 3-bet.
Yeah.
Because the more you call, the higher the EV of calling a strong hand is, etc.
Yeah.
All right, I think most people have gone to other things. Does anyone have any last minute questions before we finish up?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, this is good, and I'll see when we can organize the next one.
All right, thanks.
Cool.
All right.